Third part. Chapter 41, The Reincarnation of the Demon God. My ears are ringing with noise. Can you change the words to hear it? I have nothing to be afraid of when I am alone. Facing Li Qingfeng's threat, Yi Chen looked indifferent. If you really want to risk everything, why wait until now? I am not a 3-year-old child, how can I be fooled so easily? Snort. Qingfeng Li snorted coldly. If eyes could kill, Yi Chen would probably die countless times. Boy, what do you want to do? Yi Chen turned his head and looked at the angry Qingfeng Li with a meaningful smile. Let's see if I can get you to hold your grandson soon, ha ha ha. Don't follow me, or else. After saying that, the figure turned into a stream of light and went straight to Li Linger's residence. All the guards who tried to block him flew out, and they were not his enemies at all. Qingfeng Li wanted to look up to the sky and scream, but thinking of the many guests outside, he could only endure it for the time being. Thinking that today was his daughter's wedding day, he quickly chased after her, saying nothing to let Yi Chen succeed. Boy, stop right there, or else don't blame me for being rude. If this matter is leaked, outsiders will not know what to think of the Tang dynasty and the Holy Land of Heavenly Sword, and they may be unable to hold their heads up for the rest of their lives. Old guy, get out of my way quickly. Do you want your daughter to die? Yi Chen was not used to it at all. The 9 Dragons' demonic sword appeared in his hand, and his attitude was very determined and he would never make any concessions. You. Qingfeng Li's face turned red and he could hardly speak out his anger. Father, please bring him in with you. I have something important to tell you. When the two were in a stalemate, Li Linger's faint voice came from the room, which seemed to be mixed with complicated emotions. What the hell? I don't want to stay with this old guy. Yi Chen scoffed, not wanting Qingfeng Li to be in the way. As Li Linger's father, Li Qingfeng naturally knows his daughter's character, so he must have his own reasons for saying this. Thinking of the terrifying murderous intent surrounding his body, he wiped out all the nearby palace maids and guards to prevent them from leaking what happened here. Old guy, you are quite cruel. Yi Chen's mouth twitched, and he saw that Li Qingfeng was also a ruthless master, killing hundreds of palace maids and guards at will. You be ****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** know what's good for you, I won't mind fighting you to the death. If you don't believe me, just give it a try. Li Qingfeng looked very determined and forced Yi Chen into Li Linger's room to see what his daughter wanted to say. The net is not necessarily broken when a fish dies, old guy, let go, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Yi Chen didn't have a good look on him. His physical strength exploded and he broke free from the restraints. He straightened his messy clothes with an indifferent expression. Just when the two of them were at war with each other, Li Linger stood up and said with great resentment, "I am pregnant." His eyes were always on Yi Chen, wanting to see what this cruel man would do. Bang! When Yi Chen heard this, he almost lost his balance, knocked over the table and chairs next to him, and his eyes widened. This news was like a bolt from the blue. Becoming a father? Becoming a father? Can't believe it's true. Congratulations to the host on becoming a father. Go, I'm not even ready yet. Hit it once. Yi Chen was a little confused. So easy? Qingfeng Li was held in place, and his mind was completely blank. Just now, Yi Chen said that he would give birth to his grandson as soon as possible, but he didn't expect that it would come true so soon. You brat, I'm going to kill you. Qingfeng Li could not accept the fact that the flames were extinguished. His eyes burst out with terrible anger, and he wanted to eat Yi Chen alive. How could he marry with the heavenly sword Holy Land after something like this happened? You can't tell the other person buy one get one free, right? It is estimated that when Yi Yun knows the truth of the matter, the two factions will completely fall out, because no man can bear to have green grass growing on his head. Father, no, the child cannot lose his father. Li Linger stood in front of Yi Chen without hesitation. When I first learned that I was pregnant with Yi Chen's blood, I felt like the sky was about to fall. However, I felt the weak life fluctuations in my body, my mentality gradually changed, and there was even a trace of expectation. I I don't care about it anymore, you can figure it out on your own. Qing Fengli looked at his resolute daughter and his heart softened again. He simply left the room and let the two of them resolve the matter by themselves. No way. Is this girl really in love with me? Yi Chen shrugged, feeling very confused. Logically speaking, Li Ling'er should hate herself so much that she would have to pay the price even if she died. But now he is trying his best to protect himself, which is really surprising. Don't you have anything to say? Li Ling'er looked back at Yi Chen, wanting to know what his attitude was. Forehead. Yi Chen was about to speak but stopped. The two fell into silence. I don't know how long it took, but Yi Chen was the first to break the silence. He slowly placed his palm on Li Ling'er's belly, carefully feeling the faint fluctuations of life inside. The frozen heart finally felt a touch. No matter what, it is your own bloodline. Oh my God, you are actually the reincarnation of a demon god. Your bloodline has unimaginable future potential. Compared with it, all outstanding people are nothing. The reincarnation of the devil? After Yi Chen heard what the system said, he was completely confused. How could he become the reincarnation of the demon god? It was a bit too coincidental. It probably means that a strong man at the level of a demon god retains part of his origins during his lifetime, and is reincarnated as your descendant by chance. How powerful is a demon-level warrior? You can destroy countless existences in the human sovereign world with just one breath. Host, you really got a big deal and got a demon son for nothing. I believe that after being born, if you absorb the retained original power, you will soon become a strong person, and it will be a piece of cake to be powerful in the world in the future. It seems that this young master is quite powerful. Yi Chen felt secretly proud. But soon I became worried. If the reincarnation of the demon god can retain part of his original origin, will he also retain his complete memory? The host's worries are completely unnecessary. Reincarnation is not that simple. Even a strong man at the level of a demon cannot retain the memories of his lifetime. After all, not everyone has a system. I'll be relieved then. Yi Chen breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. It's okay to raise a son. I'm afraid that when the time comes to raise a big daddy, and when the time comes to grow up, and then kill myself, there is really no place to reason. Chapter 42 Slipping Away. Li Ling'er looked at Yi Chen, who was in a daze, with a complicated expression on his face. The two of them definitely had a bad relationship. The other party took away her innocence. He tortured her again and again. Now it is the day of her wedding to someone else and she is pregnant with their child. I really didn't know how to face the man in front of me in the future. After being silent for a long time, I finally mustered up the courage to ask. I want to know your name. After all, he was the father of the unborn child. She had to ask clearly, otherwise how would she explain it in the future? Oh, women are trouble. Yi Chen came back to his senses after hearing this, and shrugged helplessly. It seemed that he couldn't even take responsibility if he didn't want to, and there were really 10,000 horses galloping in his heart. The surname is Yi, the single name is Chen. After hesitating for a moment, he still told Li Ling'er his name. Last name is Yi? Li Ling'er was stunned for a moment after hearing this. It was too much of a coincidence, and then asked doubtfully. What's your relationship with Yi Yun? Or what kind of hatred is there? Li Qingfeng was outside the room, eavesdropping on what was going on inside. He was also very curious about Yi Chen's identity. After all, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. As soon as he heard Yi Yun's name, Yi Chen's expression turned cold, and his murderous intent was revealed unconsciously. Girl, there's no need to ask about this. It won't take long for you to know. I will destroy that guy in front of countless people today. It just so happens that you don't have to get married anymore, so you can raise my son properly, haha. Yi Chen laughed wantonly at the end. Ding, get a new mission. The system detects that Li Ling'er's mother body is too weak to allow the demon god to be reincarnated smoothly, and it needs the host to help stabilize its origin. The mission reward realm is upgraded to 3 levels in a row: Chaos Heavenly Origin Pill times 1000, Heavenly Demon Blood Divine Pill times 1000. Tongzi, what's going on? Just when I was happy, the system suddenly poured cold water on me. It was so ed up. The reincarnation of the demon god is too terrifying and will continue to absorb the power of the mother's body. According to Li Linger's cultivation, he cannot sustain it for too long. To solve this situation, you need external help, such as the supreme divine weapon 9 Dragon Demonic Sword or extracting part of the blood from the yin and yang blood sea to warm and nourish your bloodline descendants. Both the two elixirs rewarded by the mission can provide nutrients for the reincarnation of the demon god, and he will be born with powerful cultivation. K, it's already giving me a headache before I'm even born. Yi Chen was really speechless. The 9 Dragons Demonic Sword was currently one of his most powerful trump cards. Without this supreme weapon, it would be much more difficult to deal with Yi Yun. Thinking of this, his heart suddenly fell into a struggle, his face became uncertain, and he was considering the gains and losses between the two. At this time, Li Linger's face was also very complicated. She was thinking about how the two of them should get along in the future. However, the woman's mind was relatively simple. She believed that Yi Chen was the father of her child and did not want any accidents to happen to him, so she softly advised. Don't be impulsive. There must be many powerful people coming to the Heavenly Sword Holy Land today. It's impossible for you to kill Yi Yun. Furthermore, Yi Yun is also the son of the Northern Liang king of the Liang dynasty, and his power cannot be underestimated. There must be many powerful people coming. The implication is that Yi Chen is alone and unable to fight against a powerful force. I have my own sense of propriety, you will see to it later. Yi Chen didn't want to discuss this issue with Li Linger. After pondering for a long time, he finally took out the 9 Dragons Demonic Sword, and the terrifying demonic energy overflowed. Qing Fengli, who was outside the room, was instantly alarmed. He quickly mobilized his own power to suppress the demonic energy spreading outside, preventing the guests in the palace from noticing anything unusual. Boy, what exactly do you want to do? Qing Fengli came to the room and stared at Yi Chen. He didn't want anything to happen to his daughter. Yi Chen shook his head and said angrily, "Old guy, what are you worrying about? No matter how cruel I am, I might hurt my own child." The power of his eyes kept flashing, and the powerful power of immortals and demons emerged to eliminate the mark in the 9 Dragons Demon Sword, and carefully penetrated into Li Linger's body to protect his unborn child. Immediately after the yin and yang blood sea emerged, Yi Chen spent a lot of money to draw out a large amount of blood and condense it into a thumb-sized bead. The blood droplets entered Li Linger's eyebrows, which could support the growth of the fetus in the abdomen and gain great benefits. Humph, you have some conscience. As a strong saint emperor, Li Qingfeng could sense how unnatural these two items were, and taking out either one of them could cause a bloody storm. Yi Chen is willing to give it to his daughter, which shows that he has a good heart and maybe they can't be together in the future. Yi Chen was too lazy to explain so much and just let them do what they wanted. For the sake of his children, as long as they didn't become enemies with him, everything would be easy to talk about. The host completes the task, and the reward realm is upgraded to 3 levels in a row: Chaos Heavenly Origin Pill times 1000, Heavenly Demon Blood Divine Pill times 1000. Chaos Heavenly Origin Pill contains a trace of chaos. Heavenly Demon Blood Divine Pill contains a drop of Heavenly Demon's natal essence blood. Transcending Tribulation Realm 3rd layer. Transcending Tribulation Realm 4th layer. Transcending Tribulation Realm 5th layer. Qing Fengli looked confused. Yi Chen obviously couldn't do anything. In the blink of an eye. Just change from Transcending Tribulation Realm 2nd layer to Transcending Tribulation 5th layer. The speed is unimaginable. If I hadn't witnessed it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it to be true. Abnormal. After a long time, Qing Fengli uttered 2 words. Thunderclouds gathered above the palace with great momentum, attracting the attention of a large number of powerful people. It's really troublesome. Yi Chen was a little impatient. Every time the thunder tribulation was loud, the thunder was loud and the rain was small, and it couldn't cause any harm to him, but it still hit him a few times. Thinking of this, He flew out directly, rushed into the thunder clouds in front of everyone's surprised eyes, shattered the so-called thunder tribulation, and returned to the distance in the blink of an eye. Fierce. It's too fierce. Someone couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Many women even become nymphomaniacs and say with admiration, "I really like such a man. That's so domineering." Who is that person? The guests who came all of a sudden were talking a lot and were very interested in Yi Chen's identity. Unfortunately, they were in the palace and it was inconvenient to inquire about these things. Yi Chen, who returned to the room, ignored the shocked expressions of Qing Fengli and his daughter and took out the 2 pills rewarded by the system. The power of the immortal demon was brought into full play, and the energy in it was simply melted and sealed into Li Linger's body one by one. In this way, no one can take out these pills, which can better help the growth of the fetus in the abdomen in the future. Do it all. Yi Chen thought for a while and then lifted Li Linger's restriction, otherwise it would be somewhat unjustifiable. Hey, he slipped away. While the father and daughter were not paying attention, they left this place quietly to avoid any unexpected situations. As for the child in Li Linger's belly, he is not worried at all. With the support of the Tang dynasty, he believes that there will be no problems. Chapter 43 The Temptation of the Supreme Weapon. Damn, let that kid run away. By the time Li Qingfeng reacted, it was already too late. Yi Chen had long since disappeared without a trace, and even the Holy Emperor-level consciousness could not detect any fluctuations. Li Linger felt the extra things inside her body and suddenly showed an expression of disbelief, unable to believe that all this was true. The 2000 sealed elixirs contain immense energy and are closely connected with the fetus in the belly. No one can take them out by force. The blood droplets between her eyebrows always reveal pure blood, constantly quenching her body. What is even more surprising is that the 9 Dragons' demonic sword is actually the rumored supreme weapon, containing endless divine power. Yi Chen left these things behind, which showed that she cared about the child in her belly. It gave her a sense of expectation and made her smile unconsciously. Daughter, why are you laughing? Have you forgotten what day it is today? If Heavenly Sword Holy Land knew about this, I'm afraid they wouldn't let it go. Li Qingfeng was very helpless, but Li Linger could still laugh even in this situation. You know Yi Yun will get married later, how should you explain the child in your belly? Father, I believe Yi Chen will solve this matter. Don't worry too much. Just wait and see. I believe Yi Chen will be famous in the entire human sovereign world after today. Qing Fengli looked indignant, but he didn't expect that his daughter's attitude changed so dramatically when her elbows were turned outward. Humph, I don't believe he has that ability. So what if it is the transcending tribulation realm? No matter how many methods are used, can it shake the entire Heavenly Sword Holy Land? Father, listen to me. Li Linger was afraid that Qing Fengli wouldn't believe it, so she told the truth about the situation inside her body. Supreme weapon? Impossible. If this kid has the supreme weapon, then I will eat it. Li Qingfeng didn't believe it at all, and his spiritual consciousness penetrated into Li Linger's body to check. The 9 Dragons' demonic sword is currently in an ownerless state, and the vague supreme aura exuding directly extinguishes a ray of his consciousness. Puff. Qing Fengli felt the backlash, spit out a mouthful of blood, and said with a horrified expression, "Oh my God, who is this kid?" He knew that the magic sword in Yi Chen's hand was not simple, but he didn't dare to think about the supreme magic weapon. You must know that in the Daoist Emperor realm for countless thousands of years, only 3 supreme powerhouses appeared in total, and they respectively created the 3 top forces of the Temple of Heaven, the Temple of Heavenly Demon and the Temple of Celestial Beast. The 3 top forces have been able to stand for countless thousands of years. The big reason is that the magic weapons left by the Supreme Masters can exert unpredictable power. This shows how precious the Supreme Divine Weapon is. Yi Chen just gave it to Li Linger. It's unbelievable how generous he is. No wonder he has always been so confident. He must have some unknown trump card that could possibly destroy the entire Tang dynasty. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but shudder. No wonder the ancestors of the Emperor Grade didn't dare to act rashly, their eyes were extremely vicious. Now that things were out of control, Li Qingfeng did not dare to delay and quickly told the royal ancestor about the matter and asked him to arrange Li Linger's follow-up affairs. Not long after, Li Shiming, the ancestor of the royal family, appeared in the room out of thin air and immediately investigated the situation in Li Linger's body. Appalling. The supreme divine weapon, a bead containing endless vitality, and 2,000 precious elixir essences. Li Shiming showed an expression of disbelief. However, those things are bound to the fetus in the belly, and will be destroyed immediately once they are forcibly taken out. Even if he is a quasi-emperor realm 9th layer, there is nothing he can do. Ancestor, the child in Linger's body must stay. With so many heavenly treasures, the future achievements are unimaginable. Not to mention the supreme divine weapon. It's just that the heavenly sword Holy Land is not easy to deal with. To put it bluntly, these innate conditions do not require Yi Linger to marry to the heavenly sword Holy Land. When the child in his belly is born, with all his efforts to cultivate him, he will definitely be able to lead the Tang dynasty to an unprecedented prosperous age, and it is not impossible to even dominate the human sovereign world. Which of the pros and cons is more important can be said to be clear at a glance. This matter must be carefully considered. After all, it is related to the future direction of the Tang dynasty. Let's see if there is a way to get the best of both worlds. Li Shiming pondered. I didn't know how to choose for a while. After all, at this time, if you break off the engagement, you will have to completely break up with the heavenly sword Holy Land. If it is not handled well, the two major forces may go to war directly. However, if Li Linger is allowed to marry with a pregnant belly, the outcome may not be much better, which is really a headache. After a series of events, Li Linger had long been deeply in love with Yi Chen and naturally did not want to marry Yi Yun again. Now that Li Shiming was in such a dilemma, he started to make plans. Yi Chen once said that he would get rid of that guy Yi Yun today. Our two families are destined to be unable to complete their wedding on time today. When the time comes for our ancestors to find a suitable excuse, the heavenly sword Holy Land will not be able to say anything, right? Having been with Yi Chen for so many days, he knew very well that he meant what he said, and it was impossible for Yi Yun to marry her today. Li Shiming's eyes lit up when he heard this. If it was true as Li Linger said, he would be able to deal with it and withdraw from the engagement with the heavenly sword Holy Land. Although this will cause unpleasantness for both parties, it is better than completely breaking up. Well, just do as Linger said. That guy can possess the supreme divine weapon. He must have a very deep foundation. He even has a powerful Taoist guard behind him. We really don't need to worry. The opinions of several people have been unified, and they only need to wait for Yi Chen to take action. It would be best if they could kill Yi Yun. Ha ha ha. Qing Fengli laughed heartily, and the anger he had been squeezing away was gone, and he felt that Yi Chen was still very pleasing to the eye. As for the 200,000 imperial guards, they are nothing compared to the supreme divine soldiers, and there is no need to feel bad if they die. Li Shiming was an old man, but he was still calm. Looking at the excited Qing Fengli, he couldn't help but shake his head. Don't be too happy first. You go outside and continue to deal with the incoming guests. No one knows whether things will change later. There is also the matter of Linger's pregnancy. I will use a secret method to hide her aura later to prevent strong people from noticing it. When it comes to the supreme magic weapon, everything needs to be done with caution to ensure there are no surprises. Chapter 44 is finally here. Not far from the imperial city, a luxurious car made of divine gold and black iron slowly flew over, with the iconic flag of the heavenly sword Holy Land hanging above the car. The car exudes a dazzling light, making it impossible to ignore its existence. The Qishao tiger in the nine-headed shattering void realm is used to pull the car. Red Sky Tiger was considered a strong player even in monster race, but now he has become the mount of human race. From this we can see the foundation of the heavenly sword Holy Land, which is really amazing. Thousands of elite disciples from the heavenly sword Holy Land flew forward with their swords to clear the way, each of them exuding fierce sword intent, as if they were about to pierce the sky. The sword intent gathered together to form an earth-shattering momentum, making people feel the majesty and domineering power of the heavenly sword Holy Land. Standing in the rear car was a young man wearing a white robe and carrying a sword on his back. His face is very resolute, exuding an unparalleled arrogance, and his eyes are as sharp as an eagle, as if he can understand everything. There was a vague sense of terrifying sword intent on his body, causing the surrounding space to distort. This person is today's protagonist, Yi Yun, the holy son of the heavenly sword Holy Land. At the same time, there is another first-layer identity, that is, the second son of King Bailiang of Liang dynasty. Behind the car were followed 100,000 soldiers, each of them exuding a murderous aura, making everyone shudder at a glance. It was the black armored army of the king of northern Liang. In order to save face on his son's wedding day, he transferred all the elites from the black armored army. Each one of them was above the sky control realm, no worse than the imperial guards of the Tang dynasty royal family. Coming, the people from the heavenly sword Holy Land are coming. That is the Saint Yi Yun. He is so graceful and graceful. He and the princess are definitely a match made in heaven. That's natural. Yi Yun has an innate sword body and a supreme sword bone. He will definitely become the great emperor in the future. That's King Bailiang's black armored army. It's also very powerful. Together they can probably suppress the strong saints. Everyone was talking about it, but they didn't know that there were still several unknown strong men hidden in the void, all of whom were dedicated to protecting Yi Yun. Yi Yun has the hope of becoming the great emperor in the future. The heavenly sword Holy Land has spent countless efforts on him, so it is natural to protect his safety. Especially in today's situation, I don't know how many forces have attracted the attention. If any old guy doesn't respect martial ethics and sends a strong person above the saint level, it will definitely threaten Yi Yun's safety. On top of the city wall. Yi Qin stood on the city wall, looking at the huge wedding team in the distance, and the corners of his mouth slowly raised, outlining a cold smile. Finally here, my good second brother. As his voice fell, a strong murderous intention gradually rose from his body. An almost substantial cold air filled the air, making the surrounding air seem a bit colder. Several people who were closer to Yi Qin were suddenly shrouded in the chill, and could not help but tremble all over, with frightened expressions on their faces. Little brother, what's going on with you?" one of them asked, stammering, his eyes full of fear. "Today is a grand day for the Tang dynasty and the Holy Land of Heavenly Sword. You must not mess around. Otherwise, you will definitely be killed." Another person also hurriedly tried to persuade him, with beads of sweat oozing out from his forehead. "That's right, don't act impulsively. If you have anything, you can wait until today to solve it," someone echoed. Several people had good hearts and tried to dissuade Yi Qin from being impulsive, lest he cause death. However, Yi Qin didn't appreciate it at all. He glanced back at them coldly, and his extremely indifferent eyes made several people's hearts tremble, and they didn't dare to say another word. Then, under the astonished gaze of everyone, Yi Qin moved and flew directly into the air, stopping the heavenly sword Holy Land disciple who was walking in the front. "Stop, you won't be able to survive today." Everyone looked in disbelief. I really don't know where Yi Qin got the courage to dare to stop the people from the heavenly sword Holy Land, and he also showed strong murderous intent. Is this person crazy? Are you going to challenge the heavenly sword Holy Land? The disciples of the heavenly sword Holy Land were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to make trouble at this time. It would be too disrespectful to them. "Who? Are you tired of living? You dare to stop my car from the heavenly sword Holy Land?" Several disciples had hot tempers. Without saying a word, they attacked Yi Qin with their swords. The sharp sword energy vibrated in the air, and the power was very terrifying. Yi Qin shook his head slightly. The guys in front of him were from the heavenly origin realm and could not cause him any harm at all. He simply stood there and let the sword energy fall on him. Seeing Yi Qin standing there, several people couldn't help but laugh. I thought he was so capable, but I didn't expect him to be frightened so quickly. He really doesn't know how to live or die." With a cruel smile on his face, he wanted to see the scene of this guy being dismembered, and at the same time show the majesty of the heavenly sword Holy Land. Bang! 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 Then there was no scene of flesh and blood flying around, only the sound of metal colliding, and Yi Chen stood in the void unharmed. No, retreat quickly. Several people realized the seriousness of the matter and knew that they were no match for Yi Chen, so they quickly retreated to the rear to join their fellow disciples. It's late. Yi Chen was not merciful. He shot out a few beams of spiritual power with a snap of his fingers, killing several people on the spot, and their bodies fell from the air. With a disdainful smile on his face, he looked at the remaining people from the heavenly sword Holy Land and said coldly, "If you don't want to die, get out. My target today is not you. Of course, if you are ungrateful, I don't mind sending you on the road together." The people in the heavenly sword Holy Land were furious when they heard this. Killing their people and telling them to go away is undoubtedly a naked provocation that no one can bear. Boy, you are so arrogant. You just want to provoke our heavenly sword Holy Land with just transcending tribulation realm 5th layer. You really don't know how to live or die. Look, I'm here to kill you and avenge my junior brothers. A transcending tribulation realm strongman took action angrily, slashed out his long sword, and the sharp sword energy broke through the space in front of him, and he was in front of Yi Chen in a blink of an eye. The speed is so fast that it is beyond the reach of others. It's interesting, but unfortunately it's still too weak. Yi Chen turned a blind eye to the slashing sword energy, and the physical power exploded, shattering the surrounding space, and easily annihilating the opponent's attack. How is that possible? The strong man from the transcending tribulation realm opened his mouth wide, and he couldn't believe that what he saw in front of him was real. Both of them are obviously transcending tribulation realm 5th layer, but their strength is so different. Die. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Chen rushed over with his physical strength and turned the man into a mist of blood. Everyone who saw this scene was extremely shocked. The enemy is too strong. Quickly form a heavenly dipper formation and work together to kill this person. The expressions of the people in the heavenly sword Holy Land changed drastically. Yi Chen's strength far exceeded their expectations, and he could actually kill the transcending tribulation realm powerhouse in an instant. Chapter 45, Thousands of souls merge into spirits. Yi Chen had no intention of stopping him. He wanted to see what the people from the heavenly sword Holy Land could do, so he just waited there. During this period, his eyes were always on Yi Yun's side. I'm afraid that the other party didn't recognize him until now, otherwise he wouldn't be so calm. On the luxurious car not far behind, Yi Yun frowned. His eyes fell on Yi Chen's figure, and there was always a familiar feeling, but the distance was too far, and it was impossible to confirm his identity for a while. He originally wanted to go and find out in person, but the strong man hiding in the dark stopped him, thinking that Yi Chen couldn't make any trouble. Holy Son, please be patient. Just leave trivial matters to your disciples. Otherwise, others should say that our heavenly sword Holy Land has no one. That guy's cultivation is only transcending tribulation realm. His physical strength is just a little stronger. There's nothing to worry about. Yi Yun nodded upon hearing this, knowing the power of Heavenly Dipper's earthly sword formation, and it would be absolutely no problem to deal with a guy from the transcending tribulation realm. Thinking of this, I simply closed my eyes and rested my mind, urging the 9-headed red sky tiger to continue on the road. Now the most important thing is to pick up Li Linger first. A moment's work. The people from the heavenly sword Holy Land arranged the sword array, and the surrounding scene suddenly changed, pulling Yi Chen into an independent space. There were countless sword energies in the space, numbering in the millions. Each one had the power to cut mountains and rivers, and they were all densely packed and slashing towards Yi Chen like crazy. Boy, if you dare to underestimate our heavenly sword Holy Land, I will let you experience the pain of 10,000 swords piercing your heart today. Everyone is very confident in the sword formation formed. Even the saints and strong men can fight with it. A mere sword formation may not even be able to break through my defense. Yi Chen activated his divine ability Immortal Golden Body and combined it with the Dragon Elephant Heaven Suppressing technique to directly resist the impact of countless sword energies. The sword energy hit the golden light and was instantly shattered by the powerful force. He did not suffer any harm during the whole process. Impossible. The leading disciples were so shocked that they could hardly speak. They knew the power of the sword formation very well, but they couldn't even break through Yi Chen's defense. The future is too unlucky. How do they play? Can't sit still and wait for death. The people of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land decided to use the most powerful attack method of the sword array, and everyone worked together to continuously inject the spiritual power in their bodies into the sword array. In an instant, countless sword energy gathered together and condensed into a huge yin-yang divine sword in the air. The divine sword exudes a heart-stopping aura, as if it was forged from the purest sword intent in the world. The blade of the sword shines with black and white light, representing the power of yin and yang. The entire space was shrouded in terrifying sword intent, as if the energy, the sun, the moon, and the stars were trembling, and it struck at Yi Chen with unparalleled power. The system obtains a new mission, breaking the sword formation and killing thousands of people, and the reward realm is upgraded to the Imperial Weapon 7-Star Dragon Sword. Tongzi, this is a welfare gift for me. When Yi Chen saw that the task was not difficult at all, he was immediately overjoyed. It seemed that the first-generation system had simply given him the Imperial Weapon. It must be said that this system is considerate. If the host loses the 9 Dragons demonic sword, it will naturally give you some mental compensation. I just like you like this. Yi Chen laughed, and the laughter resounded throughout the world, as if declaring his invincibility and confidence. Now there are 990 ancient dragon elephants condensed in the body, and the physical strength has reached a terrifying level, comparable to that of a strong saint. Moreover, his natal divine ability, the immortal golden body, makes him even more powerful. A trace of disdain flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. With his current strength, it would be easy to break through this sword formation. The whole body exuded a dazzling golden light, like a golden sun rising, illuminating the entire space. 99 million kilograms of divine power surged forward, causing the space to twist and deform, as if it could not withstand his terrifying power. With a bang, he punched the yin-yang divine sword. Wherever the punch passed, the void shattered and the wind and clouds changed color. Bang! There was a loud noise, deafening. The yin-yang divine sword was instantly shattered into countless fragments. The space where the sword formation evolved continued to fragment, and it was about to collapse completely. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land did not dare to neglect and injected spiritual power to stabilize the sword formation at all costs, but unfortunately it was still to no avail. The sword array continued to collapse, and eventually the disciples of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land flew out one after another, spurting out a large amount of blood from their mouths, and suffered severe backlash. Take your life. Kill you while you are sick. Yi Chen sacrificed the 10,000 souls banner, and hundreds of thousands of souls rushed out, including many at the semi-saint level. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land were unable to resist. They fell from the sky one by one. In the blink of an eye, they lost all their vitality. Their souls were brought into the 10,000 souls banner and became one of them. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. The reward realm is upgraded to 1 level, the Imperial Weapon 7-Star Dragon Sword. 7-Star Dragon Sword, based on the Great Emperor level keel, it is formed by refining 7 huge stars. Transcending Tribulation Realm 6th layer. Boom! Thunderclouds gathered in the sky, but before they could form, Yi Chen rushed forward and shattered the thunder tribulation that was about to form. Perverted! Yi Chen's outrageous behavior caused a wave of exclamations. This was the first time I saw someone doing such transcending tribulation. Yi Chen looked very calm. The matter of destroying the thunder tribulation had been done once in the palace, and he was already familiar with it. Naturally, it was not a big deal. Damn it, kill my thousands of elite disciples in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. No one can save you today. An old man in green clothes walked out of the void, carrying 3 divine swords on his back. He stared at Yi Chen with his eyes fixed on Yi Chen, and endless anger ignited in his heart. Originally, he wanted his disciples to experience more battles to hone their character, but in the blink of an eye, thousands of them fell into Yi Chen's hands. He didn't even give him time to react. He felt regretful thinking about this. He pressed his big hand in the air, and countless powers of heaven and earth gathered together to form a powerful sealing force. This person seems to be Lu Sanjian, who has the cultivation level of the 9th layer of the saint and is an elder of the heavenly sword Holy Land. It seems that this kid is in danger. Someone exclaimed, recognizing the old man's origin, and Yi Chen was definitely in danger. Little tricks. Yi Chen sacrificed the 10,000 souls flag, and hundreds of thousands of souls flew out. All souls merge into spirits. The 3 most powerful souls flew out and began to merge with the surrounding souls. The illusory body quickly became solid and turned into a terrifying soul. Each soul possesses power beyond that of ordinary saints. It waved its hand to unleash a terrifying power of death, destroying Lu Sanjian's divine ability, and then killed the opponent. What a terrible method! Lu Sanjian did not dare to be careless, and fought the 3 souls with all his strength. The surrounding space continued to fracture, and the aftermath of the powerful power made it almost impossible to open one's eyes. Lu Sanjian was afraid that innocent people would be affected, and it would be difficult for the Tang dynasty to explain the situation, so he forcibly dragged the 3 souls away from the sky. The 2 sides were fighting and retreating, and for a while no one could do anything to the other. Those who were lucky enough to see this scene were very excited. Chapter 46. When brothers meet, they are extremely jealous. Looking at the approaching wedding team, Yi Chen became cold and said with murderous intent, "Yi Yun, stop hiding behind. This young master is here for you today. It's impossible for you to stay out of it. It couldn't have been so long and you didn't even recognize who I am. I'm really disappointed." In fact, it was expected that Yi Yun didn't recognize him, because the 2 had only met once, when he had his supreme bone cut out when he was 16. It's very ironic to think about it. The whole family is so cold-blooded. Yi Yun's eyes revealed a terrifying sword intent. After breaking through all illusions, he finally saw Yi Chen's true body, and he suddenly showed a look of shock. You are, Yi Chen? I didn't expect the 2 of them to meet here. As the second son of the Yi family, he naturally knows what happened to the Yi family. Yi Chen's eyes revealed a terrifying murderous intent, and he said in a cold voice, I didn't expect you to still remember me. It's such an honor for me. Are you still used to using the supreme sword bone? However, today it's time for the property to return to its original owner." After saying that, he took the initiative to fly over. Thinking of the pain of cutting out the bones before, the endless murderous intention grew in his heart. He could finally take revenge today. It can be said that brothers are extremely jealous when they meet. The 2 of them seem to know each other. They both seem to have the last name Yi. Is there any relationship? The onlookers were a little confused and very curious about the relationship between the 2. The fire of gossip burned in their hearts. I don't understand what you mean. At this time, Yi Yun's expression was very gloomy. Of course he would not admit that he had captured Yi Chen's supreme sword bone. Otherwise, how would he be able to survive in the future? It doesn't matter whether you admit it or not. Yi Chen didn't waste any time, and his figure disappeared instantly. When he reappeared, he was already behind the opponent, and his fist hit him like a shooting star. The space with a radius of 10,000 meters instantly collapsed, and the power contained in it made people feel frightened. A flying sword. Facing Yi Chen's attack, Yi Yun was shocked. He quickly reacted and the long sword from behind flew out like lightning, slashing out with sharp sword energy. The sword energy circulated with a heart-stopping aura, as if it could cut off everything, and collided with Yi Chen's fist, making an earth-shaking loud noise. Boom! The aftermath of the 2 forces spread outward like a tide, and the surrounding space was distorted and deformed. Both sides couldn't help but take a step back, and they were evenly matched. Yi Yun's expression became very solemn. The news brought by the Yi family half a year ago was that Yi Chen was still in the transcending tribulation realm, and it took only a short time for him to become the transcending tribulation realm. It was really unbelievable. If he hadn't practiced special skills, it would have been impossible to achieve this level. Yi Chen, you must have practiced some evil technique. Otherwise, how could your realm have improved so quickly? I, the Holy Sun, will eliminate demons and defend the way today. The long sword in his hand was swung like a dragon out of the sea. Each swing of the sword was fierce, and a large number of swords intertwined into a huge sword net in the air, trapping Yi Chen in it, forming an indestructible cage. You are so good at slaying demons and protecting the Tao, but I'm afraid you don't have that ability, haha. There was a hint of sadness in Yi Chen's laughter, and he didn't want to talk nonsense with Yi Yun anymore. His body shook violently, and the immortal golden body on his body was activated to the extreme at this moment, emitting a dazzling light. With the blessing of the immortal golden body, Yi Chen's power has been greatly improved. Every step he takes can crush the void and make the entire space tremble. Ignoring the fierce sword intent around him, he broke through the cage and attacked Yi Yun with all his strength. The two sides immediately fought fiercely. After Yi Chen was injured, his aura became stronger and stronger, like a ferocious beast, which made people shudder. Yi Yun felt unprecedented pressure and had to go all out to barely resist Yi Chen's attack. But as time passed, he was still losing ground and suffered serious injuries. If so many people weren't watching, they would have called out the strong men hidden in the void to kill Yi Chen. Yi Chen felt extremely happy in his heart and mocked unceremoniously, "It is simply wishful thinking for a guy like you to want to eliminate demons and protect the Tao. Kill." He would not hold anything back, his eyes flashed with cold light, he flipped his right hand, and the 7-star dragon sword appeared in his hand. The entire body of the divine sword shone with bright starlight, the sword was engraved with the image of a divine dragon, and the hilt was inlaid with 7 gems that shone brightly. Holding the 7-star dragon sword in his hand, a vast force burst out, causing the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Take a deep breath, circulate the spiritual power in your body, and continuously pour it into the 7-star dragon sword. Suddenly the sword began to tremble violently and made a crisp sound, as if cheering for joy. At the same time, the 7 gems on the hilt of the sword bloomed with dazzling light, echoing the dragon pattern on the sword body. Yi Chen gathered all his strength and swung out his sword. In an instant, released a bright sword light, faintly let out a low dragon roar, and with unparalleled power, it flew straight towards Yi Yun. Wherever the sword light passed, the void shattered and chaos emerged. F***K, how could he be so strong? Yi Yun was shocked. That sword light made him feel unprecedented pressure. Not daring to show any signs of neglect, he immediately displayed his own divine ability, 10,000 swords returning to the sect. In an instant, the long sword in Yi Yun's hand seemed to be given life, making bursts of sword sounds. Immediately afterwards, thousands of sword energy shot out from the sword body, accompanied by a heart-stopping sword intention, and the void was distorted wherever it passed. Each sword energy contained endless power, which instantly drowned out the terrifying sword light. The two forces were constantly counteracting each other, and neither side took advantage. Second young master, we are here to help you. All the black-armored troops obey the order and arrange a joint attack formation. 100,000 black-armored troops rushed over and immediately set up a formation, condensing into a terrifying black-armored war god, revealing endless divine power, and its power could be said to be infinitely close to the level of a holy king. The leading general glanced at Yi Chen, showed a strange expression, and shouted, "Your Majesty has an order to kill Yi Chen if you see him." "Yes, we will kill the thief at any cost." 100,000 black-armored troops responded in unison. "Huh, I am a thief, what about your prince? It's really ridiculous." Yi Chen's face showed a chill when he heard this. As the saying goes, tiger poison cannot eat its seeds. But Yi Kuang's actions really chilled him. In this case, don't blame yourself for being cruel. I believe that all 100,000 black-armored troops fell here, which will definitely make Yi Kuang feel distressed for a long time. The system detects that the host has a strong murderous intention, and gets a new mission, killing 100,000 black-armored troops, and the reward realm is upgraded to the divine weapon Void Soul-Chasing Bow. Yi Yun snorted coldly and said unceremoniously, "You, a guy who deceives his master and destroys his ancestors, has nothing to do with our Yi family. Don't dream of returning to the family one day. Destroying Ye's family, destroying the ancestral hall and hurting his mother, any of these things are enough to make Yi Chen die several times. Killing him now is natural. Chapter 47 Demon Suppressing Sword Technique vs Nether Skybreaking Slash. Ha ha ha. It's less fun to laugh to death. Go back and let you draw my blood, gouge out my bones and dig out my eyes? Yi Yun, are you mentally ill or am I mentally ill? Yi Chen really laughed angrily. This guy really dared to think. Do you need to go back to such a family? Yi Yun suddenly didn't know how to refute, because what Yi Yun said was true. It would be impossible for anyone else to return to the family. However, with so many people present, they could not admit that the Yi family had done such a thing, so they said righteously. The Yi family is so smooth-talking and upright, how could they do such a thing? On the other hand, you, Yi Chen, ignored our blood and family ties, injured our mother, massacred and destroyed tens of thousands of clan members, and destroyed the family ancestral hall. It is simply unjust. Today, I, the Holy Sun, will do justice for heaven and kill you to clean up the Yi family. Today I have to kill Yi Chen no matter what, otherwise I don't know how far he will grow if he is given another period of time. A guy from the Shattering Void realm guessed Yi Yun's origin from the conversation between the two. I know, that guy is Yi Chen, the fourth son of King Bailiang, and he is biological brother to Yi Yun. This man massacred tens of thousands of clan members half a year ago and destroyed all the spiritual tablets in the entire ancestral hall. The aftermath of the war turned the entire Bailiang city into ruins. He even almost killed him, if it hadn't been for the return of the quasi-emperor of the Yi family at the critical moment. When he said something, the man's body was shaking. Who doesn't know that the king of northern Liang, Yi Chen, can do this, which shows how powerful he is. Many uninformed monks even looked in disbelief, unable to believe that this was true. Oh my God, it's so cruel. You even killed your own family. It's so inhumane. It is even more unjust to bully one's master and destroy one's ancestors. I'm afraid this kid has fallen into demon Dao. Such a person shouldn't live in the world. That's right, Lord Holy Sun, kill him. Some people saw the excitement and shouted loudly, wanting Yi Yun to show off his power and kill Yi Chen. If you are looking for death, you are not worthy of living in this world. When Yi Chen heard the words of those people, his murderous intention continued to emerge, and his spiritual thoughts locked them firmly. The destructive power of dual pupils exploded, and hundreds of people exploded on the spot, turning into a pile of broken limbs and arms. Blood splashed on countless people. Hiss. Countless people took a breath of cold air. I'm glad I didn't talk about Yi Chen. Otherwise, the fate will be the same as those of others. This is called disaster coming from the mouth. A ruthless person who even destroyed his own family just went to provoke others. It was really like an old man hanging himself because he thought his life was too long. Yi Chen, you are cruel and unscrupulous, and you deserve to die. My father made the right choice to expel you from the family. Yi Chen shouted loudly, with a strong murderous intent in his eyes, and then he made a hand with both hands and used the great emperor-level divine ability demon-suppressing sword technique. The divine sword was suspended in the air, carving complex lines, gradually forming a mysterious pattern. The pattern exudes endless coercion, as if it can suppress all living things, and gathers the spiritual energy of heaven and earth within hundreds of miles. After the mysterious pattern absorbed enough power from heaven and earth, the fairy light suddenly burst out. The dazzling light made people unable to open their eyes, and it suppressed Yi Chen. Yi Chen's expression became solemn. Yi Yun's strength should not be underestimated. The strength of the innate sword body and supreme sword bone was definitely comparable to that of ordinary saints. Under the suppression of the mysterious pattern, I felt as if my body was being suppressed by a sacred mountain, unable to move. At the same time, the light emitted by the mysterious pattern enveloped everything around him, forming a closed space from which he could not escape. Snort. Naturally, Yi Chen would not sit still and wait for death. Yi Yun wanted to suppress him simply because he was wishful thinking. The spiritual power in his body was continuously injected into the seven-star dragon sword. Suddenly, the seven-star dragon sword emitted a dazzling light, like a bright star attracting a ray of power from an extraterrestrial star. Take advantage of this and use all your divine ability, netherworld breaking sky slash. This sword contains endless power and might, as if it can break through the world and cut off all restraints. All of a sudden, a cold light shines thousands of miles away. The two divine abilities collided together, causing a shocking wave. The dazzling light made people almost unable to open their eyes. Click, click. Along with the crisp sound, you can see that several cracks begin to appear in the mysterious pattern. This is the power of the Imperial weapon. Yi Yun's expression changed slightly. Yi Chen's strength was far beyond his imagination. He was obviously a transcending Tribulation Realm's 6th layer, but he could push himself to this level. It was really unimaginable. Especially the divine sword in his hand gave him a feeling of palpitations, just when he was about to say something. Unexpectedly, the cracks on the mysterious pattern spread quickly like a spider web, exploding into countless fragments in the blink of an eye, and the terrifying force sent the two of them flying backwards. Yi Chen was protected by an immortal golden body and did not receive any damage. On the other hand, Yi Yun was a little embarrassed, his whole face was disgraced, and his clothes were messy. Compared with his previous image, it was completely different. Yi Chen's strength is so terrifying that even the Holy Sun is no match for him. Yes, there is a huge difference between the two of them. I really don't know how they did it. Everyone was talking a lot, and their eyes fell on Yi Yun. You must know that he is the Holy Son of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, and his physique and talent are all at the monster level, but he can't even defeat Yi Yun, who is a level below him. When Yi Yun heard this, his expression was extremely gloomy, showing that he had indeed lost an adult, and his eyes looking at Yi Chen were filled with murderous intent. The Black Armored Army listened to the order and killed Yi Chen to clean up the Yi family. As you command, second young master. The Black Armored Army originally wanted to see which of the two was stronger, but Yi Yun suffered a big loss, which was beyond their expectations. After receiving the order, he controlled the Black Armored God of War with all his strength to kill Yi Chen. Shocking power erupted from every move he made, crushing countless spaces and instantly knocking Yi Chen thousands of meters away. The golden light on his body dimmed a bit. The Black Armored God of War took advantage of the victory and pursued the attack. His palms were surrounded by terrifying power, tearing apart countless spaces without giving Yi Yun any chance to react. Chapter 48 Killing 100,000 Black Armored Army. Ahem. You're quite capable, but it's a pity that you are all going to die today. Yi Chen was not a vegetarian. His figure suddenly disappeared on the spot, easily dodging the attack of the Black Armored God of War and hiding in the space. Well, where did you go? The Black Armored God of War instantly lost his target. The strong man in charge of the Black Armor Army seemed to have thought of something, and quickly reminded Yi Yun, second young master, be careful, I'm afraid Yi Chen's target is you. Yi Yun was startled when he heard this, and gathered a powerful defense outside his body to avoid being attacked by Yi Chen later. The space fell into silence briefly. No matter how many people searched with their spiritual thoughts, they could not find any trace of Yi Chen. The Black Armored Army kept getting closer together, hiding behind the Black Armored God of War. Just as the powerful leader of the Black Armored Army wanted to make a move, he felt a chill coming from his back. Before he could react, a divine sword penetrated his head. Yi Chen's figure gradually appeared, showing disdain. Huh, you are so smart. Then he calmly pulled out the 7-star dragon sword, and blood flowed down the sword god. A strong semi-saint died in his hands without even a chance to resist. Yi Chen, you deserve to die. Yi Yun was extremely angry. You must know that the Black Armored Army were all his father's personal soldiers and could be regarded as the Yi family's heritage. He did not expect that a semi-saint strong man would die so quickly. Thinking of this, he shouted to the void. Ancestors, please take action to kill this kid. I'm afraid my disciple is no match for him, and I don't want to make unnecessary sacrifices. Lu Sanjian is not the only powerful person hidden in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, but he will not take action until he is in a critical moment of his own life and death. Yi Yun, as a disciple of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, you have to have the courage to stand alone. There are some things you have to go through. Otherwise, you will never be able to become a truly strong person if you continue to live under our protection. An old voice slowly came out. Unfortunately, no one could detect the traces of the other party. This shows how terrifying the owner of the voice is. Yi Yun's heart sank. It seemed that it was impossible to ask those people to take action. At this point, he could only take one step at a time. Yi Yun, I know that there are many old guys secretly protecting you, but if they dare to take action, I can guarantee that you will die faster. If you don't believe me, you can try it. Save your life first, ha ha ha. Yi Chen didn't care at all. The death of a powerful semi-saint was nothing. Killing 100,000 black-armored troops was his ultimate goal. As for Yi Yun, just put it aside and let him know what despair means later. Thinking of the power of the dual pupils, the netherworld flames emerged and instantly overwhelmed the entire black-armored army. The condensed black-armored god of war was unable to react at all. It hurts me so much. Second young master, help. I don't want to die. 100,000 black-armored troops screamed in pain in the raging fire, and thousands of them were burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. Those soldiers who survived by chance also had a hard time. They were horrified to find that no matter what methods they used, they could not extinguish the flames on their bodies. Faced with such a desperate situation, several semi-saints in the black-armored army decided not to sit still and wait for death. They gritted their teeth and said, "No matter what, we will die, let's fight him." So a few people took the lead in burning their longevity energy and injecting power into the body of the black-armored god of war. Seeing this, the rest of the black-armored army soldiers followed suit. For a time, a large amount of life force poured into the body of the black-armored god of war, causing his eyes to glow with dazzling light. The black-armored god of war seemed to come alive at this moment, waving the Fang Tian painted halberd in his hand, and headed towards Yi Chen to suppress him with an aura that would destroy the world. The terrifying power was as heavy as a mountain, and the spaces shattered one after another, making crisp cracking sounds. No matter how hard you struggle, it's useless. Let's send you on the road together. A sneer appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. He took out 3 true demon blood pills from his arms and swallowed them without hesitation. As the elixir enters the abdomen, the majestic power is immediately released in the body, like a surging torrent, frantically washing away the divine body and meridians, and the strength continues to soar. The skin began to turn red, the muscles bulged, and the veins popped out, as if they were about to burst. Yi Chen gritted his teeth and persisted, forcing his physical strength into the saint level. The powerful law of force surrounded his body, and his body emitted a dazzling light, as bright as the scorching sun. The realm has also been forcibly raised to the semi-saint level. The 7-star dragon sword in his hand is shining brightly, and there is a vague imperial power flowing on the sword. However, the imperial power revealed was too weak and no one could feel it, otherwise it would have attracted the attention of countless people. Yi Chen held the hilt of the sword with both hands and swung it hard. A terrifying sword energy roared out and went straight towards the black-armored war god. Wherever the sword energy passed, the space was like paper, torn open in an instant, and collided with the black-armored war god Fang Tian's painted halberd. Boom! Suddenly the divine light shone thousands of miles, and the aftermath of the terrifying power spread out. 100,000 forbidden troops were the first to bear the brunt. Half of them died on the spot and turned into ashes under the netherworld flames. When the dazzling divine light dissipated, Yi Chen stood in the void unharmed, looking at the black-armored army who had survived. The black-armored army is nothing more than that. Waving the divine sword in his hand, 7 beams of light rose into the sky, crushing them mercilessly and killing all the remaining black-armored troops. Without the support of the 100,000 black-armored troops, the previously concentrated black-armored war began to slowly dissipate. Impossible! Impossible! Yi Chen, what magic method did you use? Blood was dripping from the corner of Yi Yun's mouth, but he still didn't want to believe that the scene in front of him was real. There are 100,000 elite black-armored troops, and the condensed black-armored war god is almost comparable to the Saint 9th layer powerhouse, and is almost the same as Lu Sanjian who appeared before. Yi Chen was too lazy to pay attention to this guy, running his skills crazily to absorb the energy leaking around him, but the further he advanced, the harder it became to improve his level. Can reach transcending tribulation realm 7th layer. Suddenly, Thunderclouds gathered in the sky, and 7 violent thunderbolts fell at the same time, striking Yi Chen hard. Bang, bang, bang. There was a crisp impact sound, but there were only a few streaks of smoke on the body, which did not cause any substantial damage. The host completes the task of killing 100,000 black armored troops and is rewarded with a level upgrade, the divine weapon Void Soul Chasing Bow. Void Soul Chasing Bow, lock the enemy's breath and kill the opponent across endless space. Transcending Tribulation Realm 8th Layer. Thunderclouds gathered in the sky. Humph, even Thunder Tribulation dares to be so bold. This time Yi Chen was very domineering and punched the sky, instantly shattering a space as large as 100 miles and swallowing the unformed Thunder Tribulation. The onlookers were stunned and murmured to themselves. A ruthless person is a ruthless person. The methods of transcending tribulation are all different and really scary. Everyone had similar thoughts, and their eyes looking at Yi Chen were full of fear. Chapter 49 Love is a light, so green it makes you panic. Deep inside the palace, Li Shiming's consciousness crossed the endless distance and witnessed Yi Chen's performance with his own eyes, and was very shocked in his heart. What a terrible boy. Fortunately, I didn't fall out with him, otherwise it would be hard to predict the fate of the Tang dynasty. Possessing such a heaven-defying method is definitely not as simple as it seems. Who knows what terrible methods are hidden? After doing all this, Yi Chen's eyes fell on Yi Yun, releasing a terrifying murderous intention to envelope him, and said with a cold expression. Dignified Holy Son, take away my supreme sword bone. I'm afraid many people don't know about it. I can still vividly remember the pain of having my bones cut out, and I will definitely pay you back 100-fold today. Ha ha ha. Scenes from the past keep popping up in my mind. I'm afraid no one can understand that kind of pain. If I hadn't obtained the system, I might never be able to take revenge in my life. Yi Chen laughed maniacally and kept venting his emotions. The passers-by who were watching looked at each other in confusion. They did not expect that there was such a secret between the two people, which immediately caused quite a stir. No wonder Yi Chen turned against the family, he must have been treated unfairly. Yes, if it were me, I would probably do the same thing. It seems like the Yi family is doing it themselves. There must be a cause and a result. Many people criticized Yi Yun. To seize his brother's supreme sword bone, he is really worse than a beast, and so on, each one sounds uglier than the last. Yi Chen, don't talk nonsense. This holy son was born with the supreme sword bone, which is not what you said. Yi Yun was extremely angry. I was afraid that after today, his reputation would plummet, and it would even affect his future status in the heavenly sword holy land. Actually, the truth is not that important. Yi Chen shook his head, not wanting to continue talking nonsense. The law of power appeared, and the surrounding space instantly became extremely heavy, suppressing Yi Yun tightly. Ah, open it for me. Yi Yun roared unwillingly, burned 3,000 years of life, and activated the divine ability 10,000 swords to return to the clan. Suddenly countless sword lights flew out, breaking Yi Chen's suppression. It's quite capable, but unfortunately it's still useless. Yi Chen sneered in his heart and used his body to cross the space. In the blink of an eye, he stood in front of Yi Yun and punched him back 10,000 meters. The blood dyed the white clothes red, and the divine sword in his hand kept shaking, almost unable to hold it, and he was seriously injured. Yi Yun raised his head and glanced at the void, and found that those few people had no intention of taking action yet, so he couldn't help but cursed secretly. These old guys are so stubborn. Do you have to wait until you are about to die before taking action? Daoist is very powerful, but too rigid. Almost every time he appears, he is wandering on the edge of life and death. It's called tempering one's mind, but one cannot rely too much on them, otherwise the original intention will be lost. Although his intentions were good, Yi Yun didn't like it very much. For example, right now, anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was no match for Yi Chen, and they were unwilling to help him, which cost him 3,000 years of life. I feel so helpless just thinking about it. Aha! If the old guy behind you doesn't take action, I'm afraid you will die in my hands. Yi Yun was very confused. He didn't know what the powerful people from the heavenly sword Holy Land were doing. Yi Yun has been reduced to such a state, and he can still remain calm? That being the case, then you can't blame him for being rude. Snort. Yi Yun didn't know how to refute. After thinking for a moment, he turned into a stream of light and flew towards the imperial city at high speed. Father-in-law, there is a traitor here who is running rampant. Please suppress this person. I believe that with Li Linger's relationship, my father-in-law will definitely take action in the future, and the strength of the Holy Emperor can definitely crush Yi Chen. Love is a ray of light, so green it makes you panic. Yi Chen showed a playful smile. What kind of wonderful expression would Yi Yun have if he knew that Li Linger was pregnant with his child? But we can't say it yet. After all, the reincarnation of the demon god is too shocking. If someone with intentions finds out, they will probably kill the fetus in Li Linger's belly at all costs. At no time should we underestimate the dangers of human nature. When Yi Yun was less than 1,000 miles away from the imperial city, Yi Chen followed him at some point, grabbed one of his legs and threw him backwards. Ah, I'm not willing to give in. Yi Yun roared angrily and tried his best to resist, but his whole body still fell hundreds of meters underground, and a deep pit was formed. He climbed out of it in embarrassment, his white clothes covered in dust, and he looked no better than a beggar. Yi Yun almost collapsed. Originally, today was his wedding day, and it was supposed to be a grand wedding. Who knew that such a thing would happen? Yi Yun originally wanted to continue taking action, but unexpectedly, the 10,000 soul banner suddenly shattered the space and flew back. A closer look at the souls inside seemed a little weaker. If there were no accidents, Lu Sanjian killed 3 major souls, and hundreds of thousands of souls returned to the 10,000 soul banner to be nourished. Things were as expected. Lu Sanjian followed closely, looking at the 10,000 souls banner in Yi Chen's hand with a greedy look. Boy, give me that sacred weapon, and I may be able to spare your life. Only after personally experiencing the power of the 3 great souls did I realize the power of the 10,000 soul banner. Even the control of the transcending tribulation realm is against the saint. If it falls into his hands, wouldn't it be able to exert even more terrifying power? If you want to take advantage of my 10,000 soul banner, I'll let you become one of them, old guy. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes. Just before, he killed 100,000 forbidden troops, which made his strength increase several times again. Perhaps Lu Sanjian who killed the Saint 9th layer was not a problem. Endless killing intent shot straight into the sky, his pupils turned blood red, and he looked emotionless, like a crazy killing machine. All of a sudden, Yi Chen raised his power to the extreme. The 7-star dragon sword in his hand erupted with a terrifying aura, and the sword body shone brightly, like a dazzling star that made it impossible to look directly at it. Continuously gathering the power of the stars between heaven and earth, it finally formed a huge divine dragon. The dragon's scales flashed with cold light, and the dragon's whiskers fluttered in the wind, exuding unparalleled majesty. Roar! A terrifying dragon roar came out, releasing the terrifying imperial power, making the world tremble, and rushed towards Lu Sanjian's position. Imperial weapon, how is it possible? Lu Sanjian's expression changed drastically, and his eyes were full of disbelief. He never thought that the divine sword in Yi Chen's hand would actually be an imperial weapon. A strong life-and-death crisis suddenly surged into his heart, making him feel unprecedented fear. He quickly took out a simple shield and blocked it in front of him. The spiritual power in his body was injected into the shield crazily, hoping to withstand the impact of the dragon. Chapter 50 Grass and Tree Sword Master. The next second. Bang! The divine dragon hit the shield hard, and the aftermath of terrifying power swept across 100 miles. Even Yi Yun couldn't bear the force. He kept retreating from the impact, and the injuries in his body became a little more serious. How is that possible? Where did Yi Chen get the imperial weapon? A look of extreme shock appeared on Yi Yun's face. Those who own the imperial weapons are the Holy Land forces or the Hidden Emperor clan. They are very precious and not everyone can wear them. As the Holy Son of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, he is not qualified to bring out the imperial weapon. It's just an imperial weapon, what does it matter? Yi Chen showed a contemptuous smile. If the Nine Dragons' demonic sword had not remained in Li Linger's body, it would have been much easier to kill Lu Sanjian, and it wouldn't have taken so much effort. Taking advantage of a short period of time, he sacrificed the 10,000 soul banner to collect the souls of 100,000 forbidden troops. The endless Yin Qi circulated and advanced into a middle-grade sacred weapon. At this time, Lu Sanjian was still trying his best, and the veins on his forehead were almost bursting out. You can imagine how strenuous it was. Crack. At this moment, a crisp sound came, and a small crack appeared on the surface of the shield. Immediately afterwards, the crack spread quickly, covering the entire shield like a spider web, and then completely shattered into countless fragments. Poof! Lu Sanjian spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body flew backwards like a cannonball, his body smashing into countless spaces. The broken space was like a sharp blade, tearing at his body crazily. In the blink of an eye, his body was covered with dense cracks. Lu Sanjian endured the severe pain and exploded the power in his body with all his strength, shaking the surrounding space into nothingness, and finally got rid of the tearing force of space. However, his face was as pale as paper, and his breath became extremely weak. He stared at Yi Chen in front of him, his heart full of fear and shock. I never thought that I, a powerful ninth-layer saint, would be forced to this point by a monk from the transcending tribulation realm. I am afraid no one would believe me if I told him. Lu Sanjian couldn't imagine that if Yi Chen was allowed to continue to grow, he would be in serious trouble in the future. Uncle Master, this boy is too evil. He has endless tricks and even possesses imperial weapons. This disciple is no match for him. Such a person must be killed as soon as possible, otherwise he will pose a threat to our heavenly sword holy land. The only way at the moment is to invite a few strong men from the depths of the hidden space to kill Yi Yun with lightning speed. Snort. Old guy, I'll send you on your way first. Yi Chen snorted coldly. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he took out the divine weapon Void Soul Chasing Bow. This bow was completely black and shone with a mysterious light, as if it contained endless power. Yi Chen held the bow tightly, feeling its cold touch, and then mobilized his whole body's strength to slowly pull the bowstring apart. As the bowstring stretched, a powerful energy gathered in the bow and formed a black arrow. The black arrow had no substance, but it exuded a kind of heart-stopping pressure, and the surrounding space was distorted. Yi Chen poured murderous intent into the arrow, making it more terrifying. He took a deep breath and suddenly loosened the bowstring. The arrow shot out like lightning and disappeared in the space instantly, leaving no trace, and no one could detect a trace of it. Whoosh! Lu Sanjian's expression changed drastically. He knew that he could not resist the black arrow, so he quickly escaped through space. In the blink of an eye, he didn't know how far he had escaped. It's no use running away to the ends of the earth. Yi Chen was not worried at all. The target locked by the Void Soul Chasing Bow could not escape no matter what. Junior, please stay on top of your behavior. At this moment, a majestic sound suddenly came from the void, like a thunderous explosion, deafening. Immediately afterwards, an old man wearing a grey robe slowly walked out of the void, surrounded by an overbearing sword that seemed to be able to cut the sun, moon, and stars. The power of the powerful Holy Emperor exploded, and he looked at Yi Chen with a gloomy face, a cold light shining in his eyes. He raised his hand slightly, and a sharp sword energy shot out instantly, shattering the black arrow in the blink of an eye. Lu Sanjian's worried heart finally relaxed, and he said with lingering fear, "Uncle Master, if you don't do anything, this disciple will really die at the hands of this kid. The other party has killed thousands of our disciples, we must not let him go." But before he finished speaking, Lu Jiuzhou interrupted him and said very coldly, "The law of the jungle is the eternal truth, there is nothing to say. Those disciples will die when they die. At worst, they will be retrained. When one has reached his level of cultivation, many things have long been taken lightly, and one does not care about the life and death of ordinary disciples." Forehead. Lu Sanjian suddenly became speechless. The onlookers became commotion and recognized the identity of the person coming. This person is the Grass Sword Saint of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, Lu Jiuzhou, a super strong man in the 9th layer of the Holy Emperor realm. He is only one step away from breaking through the Quasi-Emperor realm. It is said that any grass or tree can be turned into a sword. It can break mountains and rivers from below, and cut the sun, moon and stars from above. Lu Jiuzhou has almost no opponents at the same level. It's so scary, Yi Chen is afraid he's in danger. The gap between the two is too big. Even if Yi Chen possesses the imperial weapon, he does not have enough strength to exert its full power. He is not Lu Jiuzhou's enemy at all. Everyone was talking a lot, and they all felt sorry for Yi Chen. Is such a monster about to perish here? Yi Yun in the distance also breathed a sigh of relief. The backer behind him finally took action. Otherwise, he had always been worried, really afraid that Yi Chen would kill him with a sword. Thinking of this, he quickly flew to Lu Jiuzhou. Ancestor, today is my wedding day. Please kill this kid quickly, otherwise the time will be wasted. When he said this, his eyes moved back and forth, unconsciously looking at the 7-star dragon sword in Yi Chen's hand, imagining how great it would be to own an imperial weapon. Snort. I don't need you to tell me how to act. Lu Jiuzhou's expression turned cold. Yi Yun's talent and potential were limitless, but with his current level of cultivation, he was far from qualified to order him. If there weren't so many people watching, he would definitely be taught a lesson. Disciple realizes his mistake, please forgive me, ancestor. Yi Yun's body trembled when he heard this, and he immediately realized his mistake. No matter what he was always a junior and should not talk to Lu Jiuzhou like this. What's more, the opponent's talent and strength are very terrifying, and his personality is known to be domineering. If you provoke him, you will not get good results. Seeing Yi Yun's upright attitude, Lu Jiuzhou nodded gently, then his eyes fell on Yi Chen and said lightly. I give you 2 choices. One is to hand over the imperial weapon, and I will spare your life. 2 means death. I'll give you 3 breaths to think about it. Although he doesn't care about the life and death of his disciples, the imperial weapon is different. If he can possess it, his strength will definitely increase by several levels. Chapter 51 Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th Layer. He. If I choose the 3rd option, I will let you die. Yi Chen showed a disdainful smile. I just learned about this person's situation from a passerby, so of course I won't continue to make excuses, so I'll just show off and stop pretending. Tongzi, use the Quasi-Emperor Cultivation Experience card. The host consumes the Quasi-Emperor Cultivation Experience card and randomly obtains the Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th Layer Cultivation. Yi Chen felt that his body was filled with a terrifying energy that was heart-stopping, spewing out like a volcano, instantly raising his cultivation level to the Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th Layer. Boom! With a loud bang, the whole body's aura suddenly exploded, and the pressure of the Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th Layer was like the power of heaven, making people breathless. Lu Jiuzhou on the opposite side, even though he was a strong man at the 9th layer of the Holy Emperor Realm, had to resist with all his strength in the face of this powerful momentum. The powerful aura spread around like ripples, quickly spreading to most of the imperial city. Countless monks felt this terrifying aura and trembled. Some of the weaker ones even fell to their knees and did not dare to get up. Tongzi, finally you have the strength for once. As long as the great emperor is not born, with my cultivation as the Emperor Realm 9th layer, wouldn't it be possible for me to run amok? Ha ha ha. Yi Chen laughed. Not good. An exclamation came from the void. It was the Quasi-Emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. He teleported to Lu Jiuzhou and others without saying a word. The old man in black robe did not dare to delay. He waved his hand and tore the void in front of him, trying to escape from this place with Lu Jiuzhou and others. A sneer appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth, and he mocked, "You can't even save yourself, and you still want to save others. It's really ridiculous. Say it." The 7-star dragon sword in his hand suddenly swung, and a sharp sword light instantly crossed the space and galloped towards the black-robed old man. The face of the old man in black robe changed drastically, and he tried his best to avoid it, but the sword light was extremely fast, and it came to him in the blink of an eye. There was only a puff sound, and the old man in black robe screamed, one arm was cut off by the sword light, and blood spattered everywhere. The face of the quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land changed drastically. He looked at his broken arm in disbelief, his heart filled with shock and fear. He never expected that he would suffer such serious injuries in just one encounter. And what kind of method Yi Chen used to forcibly upgrade him to the quasi-emperor realm 9th layer level was simply off the mark. Fellow Taoist, please be patient, Yi Chen directly interrupted the other person's next words. Don't be too fussy. You are all going to die today. What nonsense are you talking about? In his eyes, endless power of immortals and demons emerged. He seemed to have transformed into the master of immortals and demons, controlling the cycle of life and death of all things in the world. With a thought, he summoned a huge samsara disk, which was almost ready to turn into reality. It was countless times more powerful than the one summoned before. The reincarnation disk is suspended in the air, shining with strange light, containing endless mysteries, and even time and space are distorted. The power of reincarnation spread, and millions of god-fiend shadows appeared in the reincarnation disk. Their figures were looming, as if they were transmigrated from another world. Every god-fiend shadow exudes terrifying coercion, making people feel suffocated, and seems to turn this world into an ancient battlefield. Li Shiming's eyes widened, his face full of horror. The power of the reincarnation disk in the sky made him feel a huge threat. The means are too terrible, it's really unimaginable. I finally understand why Yi Chen dared to say the words of destroying the entire imperial city. Now it seems that there is no suspicion of exaggeration. If the Samsara heavenly disk were to impact, the entire imperial city would probably be reduced to rubble, and no one would be spared except himself. At this time, Yi Chen jumped onto the reincarnation disk, and the powerful killing intent emanating from his body combined with the power of reincarnation to form a unique power. Behind him are millions of god-fiends standing by, making anyone's legs weak when they look at it. The quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land looked very ugly. The power of the Samsara heavenly disk was too terrifying, and he really couldn't stop it with his strength. Looking at the frightened Yi Yun, he asked angrily. Is this guy really from your Yi family? There is obviously no background, but every method is shocking, which really makes him unable to understand. Forehead. Ancestor, Yi Chen has left the family and cannot be considered a member of the Yi family. Yi Yun didn't even know what to say, so he hesitated and choked out this sentence, but it was okay. You Yi family are so awesome, I will make you cry sometimes in the future. The quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land smiled bitterly and didn't know what to say. I really don't know why the Yi family forced such a monster out of the family. Yi Yun, I'm going to let you try real despair today. Ha ha ha. Yi Chen didn't want to listen to these two people's nonsense. With a wave of his hand, millions of god-fiend rushed over. Kill. 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 The sound of rushing and killing continued. The face of the powerful quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land changed drastically. He originally wanted to delay for a while, but Yi Chen didn't give him a chance at all. At this point, all we can do is fight to the death. Suddenly the origin of the body surged. All of a sudden, the broken arm quickly grew back and returned to its original state. Then he used divine ability to send several people thousands of miles away, facing millions of god-fiend shadows alone. Sacrificing the divine weapon of his destiny, the holy sword of 9 suns, he swung the sword hundreds of times in the blink of an eye, and countless red sword energy shot out, killing the phantom of god-fiend rushing in front. Taking advantage of the brief opportunity, the quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land warned loudly, "Go back to the Heavenly Sword Holy Land quickly. I will hold off the enemies, otherwise they will all die here." A battle at the quasi-emperor grade level cannot be participated by just a few people. If you are not careful, your body and mind will be destroyed. Sending Lu Jiuzhou and others away is the best choice. As soon as he finished speaking, countless god-fiend shadows came over again, and he had to concentrate on dealing with them, otherwise he would very likely end up in this place. No one can run away. Yi Chen shouted loudly, a powerful aura erupted from his body, and he quickly opened the void soul chasing bow, with a mysterious light shining on the bowstring. 2 black arrows appeared at the same time, exuding a heart-stopping aura, and shot out like lightning. Lu Jiuzhou and Lu Sanjian didn't even have time to react before they were pierced through the skulls by arrows, and terrible destructive power erupted from the arrows. The bodies of the 2 men were instantly blown into pieces, with blood and flesh foam flying in the air. Even their primordial spirits were not spared and were directly obliterated. If you dare to take a step, you will definitely die. Yi Chen was holding the void soul-chasing bow, standing proudly in the void. His eyes were extremely cold, and his mind was firmly locked on Yi Yun, who was trying to escape. Chapter 52 Desperate Yi Yun. Yi Chen, you. Yi Yun was so frightened that his face was livid, his body was shaking constantly, and he did not dare to make any move at all. Even the strongest 9th-layer Saint Emperor can't escape the fate of instant kill, so wouldn't he be even more unbearable? What are you doing? Bring it to me. Yi Chen reached out and grabbed Yi Yun from the air, directly in front of him. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. Do you remember how you treated me back then? Cruel pictures emerged in his mind, recalling the scene when he was tortured by Yi Yun. His limbs were pierced by divine weapons and fixed to the ground, enduring endless pain every moment. The whole process lasted for 3 days, with blood staining the ground red. In the end, Yi Yun cruelly dug out his supreme bone. Memories flooded into his heart like a tide, making Yi Chen's murderous intention even stronger. No matter what, Yi Yun would definitely die today. Yi Yun didn't want to die, and immediately threatened in a stern voice, I tell you not to mess around, otherwise the heavenly sword Holy Land will not let you go. You are not the only one who owns the imperial weapon. He believed that Yi Chen was able to exert such terrifying power with the help of the power of the imperial weapon, and he would never dare to be an enemy of the heavenly sword Holy Land. Sky Sword Holy Land? What is that? It is worthy of my attention. If you dare to make me unhappy, I can destroy you even if the great emperor is in charge. Yi Chen showed a contemptuous smile and looked at Yi Yun, who had a look of fear on his face, jokingly. After retrieving the supreme sword bone and completing the mission, he would be able to obtain the Great Emperor Cultivation Experience card. What will the powerful Great Emperor have to fear then? Even destroying the heavenly sword Holy Land is not impossible. The words just fell. Yi Chen's eyes were shining with cold light, like 2 bright stars, staring at Yi Yun with murderous intent in his eyes. Today is the end of you. The voice was cold and ruthless, like a demon from hell, making people shudder. Boom! The aura of the Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th layer is like the power of heaven, making the surrounding air solidify, as if time has stopped flowing. Puff! Yi Yun couldn't bear this terrible pressure at all, his face instantly turned extremely pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. The body was shaking constantly, as if it would collapse at any time. Yi Yun let out a shrill scream and felt that his soul was trembling under this pressure. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not break free from the restraints. His eyes revealed despair and fear. He never thought that he would face such a desperate situation. If Yi Chen really wanted to kill him, I'm afraid he wouldn't even have a chance to resist. Yi Chen, please let me go. Yi Yun finally couldn't help but beg for mercy. I am your second brother. We are related by blood. You can't do this to me, otherwise you will be condemned by countless people. Yi Chen laughed when he heard this, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world, and the laughter echoed throughout the space. There was contempt and disdain in his eyes, and a sarcastic smile on his lips. Isn't it too naive to want to kidnap oneself morally? I've even destroyed the family ancestral hall, so what's the point of killing you one more time? How can others want to have nothing to do with me? No matter what you say, you will die today. To tell you the truth, even after you die, you will endure endless torture. Yi Chen's tone was cold and firm. In this world, the strong are respected, and as long as you are strong enough, whatever you do is right, because anyone who dares to oppose will die. With a wave of his hand, Yi Chen condensed 108 soul-locking nails, each one filled with powerful killing intent and emitting a heart-stopping aura. Like a group of ferocious poisonous snakes, they burrowed into Yi Yun's body one after another. Yi Yun's painful howl resounded through the sky, as if it could penetrate people's souls, but his body was nailed by the soul-locking nails and he could not move. Faced with such an absolute disparity in strength, he was unable to resist at all, and the killing intent contained in the soul-locking nail continued to destroy everything in his body. Seeing the meridians, dantian, spiritual power and soul dissipating with my own eyes, the already desperate mood was infinitely amplified. Yi Chen, I was wrong, please let me go. Everything is negotiable. I can discuss it with my father and let you return to the family. How about letting everything that happened before be forgotten? Yi Yun was unwilling to die like this. He endured the pain in his body and continued to beg for mercy, hoping to use the Yi family to impress Yi Chen. Little did he know that these words made Yi Chen's face become even colder, and the murderous intention surrounding him took shape, chopping up the nearby space. Haha. What a wishful thinking. I heard that Yi Kuang has rebuilt his mansion elsewhere. I will go take a look when I have time and destroy it again. Yi Chen's maniacal laughter filled the air, and his overwhelming murderous intent swept through everything, making people shudder. Ancestor, save me. Yi Yun was very desperate when he heard this. He didn't expect Yi Chen to be so cruel and ruthless. He could forget about everything and could only place his only hope on the quasi-emperor of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. Junior, stop it. The Heavenly Sword Holy Land roared angrily, and the divine weapon in his hands suddenly exploded, forming 9 rounds of blazing scorching sun, releasing endless flames. The sky with a radius of 100,000 miles turned red, and everyone in the imperial city felt that the heat was unbearable, and they quickly used their strength to resist. Millions of god-fiend shadows were the first to bear the brunt, their bodies ignited with blazing flames, and they dissipated into the air one after another, unable to withstand the power of the 9 rounds of splitting suns. Break it for me. The powerful quasi-emperor of Tianjian sect desperately wanted to break the reincarnation disc in order to rescue Yi Yun, who was being tortured. Boom! The collision of the two forces resounded like thunder throughout the world, deafening, and terror spread in all directions. Everyone's eyes were filled with white, and the strong light made it impossible to look directly. Then, the power that destroyed the world swept over like a violent torrent. Wherever it passed, everything was destroyed and turned into powder, and the space seemed to be broken into countless pieces, turning into chaos, which was heart-stopping. The terrifying power made countless people tremble with fear. Crazy, the powerful quasi-emperor actually exploded his divine weapon. Someone shouted in horror. Some people patted their chests with lingering fear and said thankfully, fortunately, such power did not explode in the imperial city, otherwise the consequences would be really unimaginable. Yi Chen is so outrageous. I really don't know what King Baoyang thought about forcing such a monster out of the family. I'm afraid that after today, I will faint from crying in the toilet. Someone murmured to themselves, feeling very confused. The dazzling light dissipated. Everyone saw an even more shocking scene. They saw that the Samsara heavenly disc was safe and sound, suppressing the powerful quasi-emperors of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. With each rotation of the reincarnation disc, the terrifying power of reincarnation was released, beating the quasi-emperor until he vomited blood and his body was close to collapse. Chapter 53 Sanctification of the Physical Body. The quasi-emperor is nothing more than that. Let me send you on your way first. Yi Chen didn't waste any time. He took out the void soul chasing bow and pulled the bowstring hard. The terrifying black arrows condensed instantly, exuding a heart-stopping aura. Bang! There was a loud noise, and the arrow shot at the opponent at an astonishing speed. It was so powerful that even the powerful quasi-emperor could not resist it. In the blink of an eye, the body of the quasi-emperor in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land was hit by an arrow and exploded, turning into a blood mist that filled the sky. Not only that, even the primordial spirit became fragmented and floated in the surrounding space. How cruel! A happy event has turned into nothing. The Heavenly Sword Holy Land will be completely disgraced. I'm afraid it won't let it go. So what? Even the powerful quasi-emperor died in Yi Chen's hands. Who can do anything to him? Not necessarily. It is rumored that the great emperor is in charge of the heavenly sword Holy Land. If he takes action, Yi Chen may not be able to escape death. Who knows whether the rumors are true or not? After all, those who have reached the great emperor level will basically go to the immortal world and are unwilling to stay in the human sovereign world. The onlookers kept talking, wondering what Yi Chen would do next. Yi Chen didn't have time to pay attention to the people around him, so he quickly took out the 10,000 souls flag and quickly sucked the quasi-emperor's primordial spirit fragments into it. The primordial spirit fragments of the two people who died before were conveniently collected. Under the mysterious power of the 10,000 soul banner, the primordial spirit fragments of these three people gradually gathered together and restored their original appearance. The three primordial spirits can exert most of their original strength and achieve a state of immortality from exhaustion, which is a headache for anyone who encounters them. With the addition of these three powerful primordial spirits, the 10,000 soul banner advanced twice in succession and was successfully promoted to a quasi-imperial weapon. At this time, the yin qi flowing in the 10,000 soul banner became more and more terrifying, as if it could swallow everything in the world. At the same time, the heavenly demon-killing skill and the yin-yang blood sea in Yi Chen's body began to operate crazily. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation level reached the level of transcending tribulation realm 9th layer. At this time, the thunderclouds in the sky were densely packed, and their power was many times more powerful than before. The violent thunder power continues to flow, making people feel fear. Thunder tribulation seemed to have learned its previous lessons and understood that it was not easy to pose a threat to Yi Chen. Simply fuse the 9 thunder tribulations together. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise was heard, and the power of the thunder tribulation increased more than 100 times in an instant, and it fell with terrifying power from heaven. Little tricks. A disdainful smile appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth, and he gently opened the void soul-chasing bow, which instantly condensed into a black arrow, easily destroying the power of thunder tribulation and destroying even the thunderclouds in the sky. However, this is far from over. It didn't take long for Yi Chen to break through the realm again and reach the semi-holy realm 1st layer, which immediately attracted more thunderclouds and presented a terrifying vision of heaven and earth. Even before the thunder tribulation comes, you can feel the terrifying power of destruction. This is the 29 heavenly tribulations that need to be overcome to break through to the semi-saint. Its power is far beyond what the thunder tribulation of the transcending tribulation realm can compare with. Boom! A series of terrifying thunderbolts fell, and the space was constantly shattering. You can imagine how terrifying its power is. It's really endless. Yi Chen looked impatient. With a wave of his hands, he controlled the samsara heavenly disk and faced the falling thunder tribulation. The thunder tribulation collided with the samsara heavenly disk, making a deafening noise. The falling thunder dissipated on the spot and had no effect at all. Samsara Tianpan moved forward without hesitation, destroying the thunder tribulation who was still accumulating strength. The whole process was very easy. After all, he was now a quasi-emperor realm 9th layer. Everyone stared at this scene with their eyes wide open, looking at this scene in disbelief, and secretly exclaimed, "What kind of monster is this guy? Perverted." Someone couldn't help but sigh in a low voice. Crossing the thunder tribulation is a dangerous thing, and monks usually make adequate preparations. Even so, it is still a narrow escape. How could it be as easy as Yi Chen? You can forcibly raise your cultivation level to the quasi-emperor level and break through several realms in one day. How do you do it? There must be a shocking secret hidden in him, and he has practiced some kind of powerful magic skill. When everyone saw Yi Chen's methods, they were shocked and envious, wishing they could take his place. 1st layer of semi-sacred realm, not bad. Yi Chen felt the power in his body and estimated that he could fight against a strong saint without relying on physical strength and the 7-star dragon sword. The next step is to attack the 3rd level of the dragon elephant heaven suppressing technique, gather the power of 1,000 dragon elephants, and achieve physical sanctification in the true sense. Before, I used the 9-whip divine pill to forcibly upgrade my physical power to the saint level, but naturally it was not as powerful as a true breakthrough. At this time, the yin and yang blood sea swallowed the blood of the three strong men in the heavenly sword holy land, and started to circulate crazily in the body. In just a moment, the number of ancient dragon elephants gathered reached 996. 999 heads. 1,000 heads. The ancient dragon elephant seemed to have reached a limit, integrating into every acupuncture point in his body, and the color of his blood gradually turned into gold. The physical strength reached 100 million kilograms. Mass production caused qualitative changes, reaching the level of physical sanctification, and derived its own law of power. I don't know how many times the strength has been improved. One punch can break the space within 10,000 meters. With the physical strength, I can definitely sweep away a group of saints and strong men. This feels so wonderful. Yi Chen laughed happily, and it took a long time before he slowly calmed down. Please, kill me. At this moment, Yi Yun's weak voice came over. 108 soul-locking nails tortured him until he could breathe, his eyes lost their bright light, and he lost the courage to face life. It's not that easy for you to die. Have you forgotten how you tortured me? I'll help you remember it today. Yi Chen sneered. He would not let Yi Yun die easily. Otherwise, it would be too easy for him. Thinking of this, dual pupils was activated, and the power of creation surged out of his right eye, helping him to continuously recover from his injuries, and he became lively in the blink of an eye. Yi Yun was very confused. I didn't understand Yi Chen's intentions. Do you want to let yourself go? Unexpectedly, as soon as he thought of this, severe pain came from his body, and his whole body was immediately soaked, and his body kept rolling. Demon. He finally understood what Yi Chen wanted. Recovering from my injuries is a constant torture, and my body keeps trembling just thinking about it. Chapter 54, Heaven-Destroying Sword Technique. Snort. I am a devil, what about you? Yi Chen snorted coldly and broke open Yi Yun's chest, revealing the bones inside. Among them was a bone shaped like a small sword, exuding sharp sword intent. This is his supreme sword bone, which contains endless sword intent and has the potential to break the sky. It's a pity that Yi Yun did not exert the power of the supreme sword bone. If it can be fully stimulated, his strength will be improved by at least 1 or 2 levels. Yi Chen gently moved his fingers, and the supreme sword bone immediately jumped excitedly, as if it had found its master, and returned to his body on its own initiative. Zheng. With the return of the supreme sword bone, a powerful sword spirit burst out from Yi Chen's body instantly, like an invisible sword spirit, rushing straight into the sky. This sword intention is so strong that it is almost forming the law of swordsmanship. It seems that Yi Yun has spent a lot of effort on the supreme sword bone, but now he has taken advantage of it. After being warmed and maintained for a period of time, the supreme sword bone can be refined into a divine weapon of destiny, achieving the state of human sword integration. The host completes the task of retrieving the supreme bone, and is rewarded with a 3-level upgrade in Realm, a Great Emperor Cultivation Experience card, and the forbidden divine ability Heaven-Destroying Sword Technique. Heaven-Slaying Sword Technique. All 3,000 Great Tao can be used as swords to kill people, monsters, immortals, demons, and countless creatures. Kill the heavens to gain the power to destroy life, sacrifice and refine the forbidden magic sword, which can destroy all living beings, and cut down the supreme heaven. Semi-Holy Realm 2nd Layer. Semi-Holy Realm 3rd Layer. Semi-Holy 4th Layer. In the blink of an eye, he broke through to the 3rd Layer realm again, leaving everyone stunned and unable to understand what kind of freak Yi Chen was. What kind of demon Dao technique? Does it have such an effect? It's so unreasonable, but no one dares to ask unless they don't want to live anymore. Tongzi, what the hell is this life-destroying power? Yi Chen was very confused in his heart. The previous introduction of the heaven-destroying sword technique was easy to understand, that is, it could use the power of guarding or controlling 3,000 Great Tao to burst out with astonishing power. But what the so-called power of destroying life is confusing. All creatures are nurtured by heaven and earth, and contain a special power within their bodies. The moment they fall, they will form the power to destroy life. After absorbing the power of destroying life, the heaven-destroying sword art will gradually form a forbidden demon sword with unpredictable power from ghosts and gods. The supreme sword bone in the host's body can be used as a sword embryo. Once the magic sword is successfully condensed, it will surely shake the world and weep ghosts and gods. The products produced by the system must be of high quality, so the host can rest assured. As expected of the forbidden divine ability, it's so fierce. Yi Chen's heart was filled with admiration when he heard this, and his eyes fell on the people watching. He really wanted to test these people first to see what the so-called power of destroying life is. Oh my God, you won't kill us too, right? We have no grievances against him, no reason, right? It's better to stay away. Many people were stunned by Yi Chen's gaze, with cold sweat streaming down their foreheads. Wouldn't it be unlucky to be kicked out just for watching the excitement? Everyone stepped back cautiously, lowering their heads and saying nothing, for fear of attracting the attention of Yi Chen, the god of murder. I am a kind-hearted person, but why am I so afraid of you? Seeing everyone's performance, Yi Chen shrugged helplessly. He didn't just kill people on sight. Is this necessary? Forehead. Killed 200,000 royal guards, 100,000 black-armored troops, and thousands of disciples from the heavenly sword Holy Land. Even the powerful quasi-emperors were killed. Is this called kindness? I don't believe any ghosts. Thinking of the fear in the hearts of all these people, they were immediately in a dilemma. They were really afraid that Yi Yun would kill them directly, and no one would be able to survive. A few smarter guys with faster reaction speed quickly picked up the conversation and flattered Yi Yun wildly. The adults are mighty, but the little ones are weak and don't dare to get too close. Yes, please forgive me. Countless people nodded wildly in agreement, fearing that Yi Chen would be a little unhappy. It's boring, then get away. Yi Chen waved his hand impatiently, signaling these people to get away so as not to affect his good mood. At this time, Yi Yun was suspended in the void, with a large amount of blood flowing out of the wound on his chest. He looked very weak, and he was about to be unable to hold on. His eyes were full of endless resentment, and he said unwillingly, Yi Chen, if you take away my supreme sword bone, I will curse you to a bad death. Even if you become a ghost, I will not let you go. It was supposed to be a big day, but to end up like this, no one would be willing to accept it. Your supreme bone? It's ridiculous. Even if you are a ghost, it is not your turn to seek revenge from me. Yi Chen sneered. It was obviously Yi Yun who took away his supreme bone, but now he started to confuse right and wrong. I really don't know where the face came from. It seems that the torture he has suffered is not enough. In this case, let him try other tortures and see how long he can keep his mouth strong. In the blink of an eye, he helped Yi Yun recover from his injuries. Various methods were used in turn, and the screams reached countless people's ears. After countless tortures, Yi Yun completely collapsed and cried, Yi Chen, please give me a good time. Right now he just wants to die quickly and end this never-ending torture. My good second brother, it's not that easy to die. Yi Chen laughed, but the hatred in his heart was still not fully vented, and he wanted to continue to torture this guy Yi Yun. Detected the hatred in the host's heart, obtained a new mission, extracted Yi Yun's soul, retained his sanity and sent it to the 10,000 soul banner, to be tortured for eternity. The reward realm is upgraded to 1 level, divine pill times 100. Tongzi, I like this mission. Yi Chen laughed wildly, it was exactly what he thought. The 10,000 soul banner can guarantee the immortality of the soul inside. Preserving Yi Yun's sanity will allow him to be tortured continuously, unable to die even if he wants to, and endure hundreds of millions of years of pain. At this time, Yi Yun was very desperate. He never imagined that one day even death would be a luxury. How ironic. Thinking of these eyes staring at Yi Chen, he said resentfully, Yi Chen, things are changing, sooner or later you will end up worse than me. Father, you will avenge me in the future. When Yi Chen heard Yi Yun mention his father, his expression immediately turned cold. Thinking of the pain he had suffered before, he said with murderous intent. I heard that the Yi family has been re-established. It just so happens that I will destroy it again to see what that old guy Yi Kuang can do to me, haha. The host's murderous intention was detected, and a new mission was given to avenge his father Yi Kuang, return Yi Yun's body, and destroy the newly established Yi family. The mission reward realm is upgraded to the second level, and the god-level skill Wuji soul-splitting technique. You are really crazy. Yi Yun was trembling with anger. He couldn't imagine how crazy Yi Chen was, and he actually wanted to destroy the Yi family again. So what? Yi Chen sneered. The system has given so much, and the Yi family must be destroyed again. Even if you don't give anything, you will be destroyed as much as you should, and there will never be any soft-heartedness. Chapter 55 The Incarnation of the Great Emperor. I am the Holy Son of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. If you dare to kill me, you will definitely die. I will hunt you to the ends of the earth. To tell you the truth, there is a powerful great emperor sitting in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. Even if you go against the will of heaven, you will not be able to escape death. Now that things have happened, Yi Yun has completely given up. Even if he plans to die, he must be brave enough to avoid embarrassing the Heavenly Sword Holy Land and the Yi family. Yi Chen showed a steady smile of disdain and said calmly, Sky Sword Holy Land, if I have time, I wouldn't mind visiting it and see if they can do anything to me. With the Great Emperor Cultivation Experience card, there is nothing to be afraid of in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. If someone dares to provoke him, he will not mind letting this force disappear from the human sovereign world. Then kill me and see if you can handle the pursuit of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land. Do you dare? Yi Yun's face was pale, blood was bleeding from the corners of his mouth, and multiple wounds on his body were bleeding continuously, but he still endured the pain on his body and glared at Yi Chen. Yi Chen stood there with his hands folded on his chest, a mocking look on his face, and sneered. The provoking method has no effect on me, and it cannot free you. After speaking, a black flag appeared in his hand. The flag was densely painted with runes and exuded a strange aura. It was the quasi-imperial weapon, the 10,000 soul banner. Yi Chen threw the 10,000 souls banner, and instantly the 10,000 souls banner grew in size in the wind, becoming tens of thousands of meters in size. The runes on the flag flickered, and a large amount of yin qi surged out of the flag, forming an eerie air current. It was as if the door to hell had been opened, and countless souls were looming inside, screaming in agony. Immediately afterwards, a black light fell from the 10,000 souls flag, directly covering Yi Yun's body and sealing his soul. Ah, what do you want to do? Yi Yun realized that his soul was out of control and seemed to be flying out of his body, and he suddenly panicked. It's nothing. I just want to extract your soul and imprison it in my 10,000 souls banner, so that you can bear the heart-gnawing pain of 10,000 souls all the time. This master's magic weapon can make you immortal, even if you want to die, huh? Yi Chen showed a cruel smile, and then controlled the black light to separate Yi Yun's soul and put away the latter's body. After all, it would be useful next time. Yi Chen, I won't let you succeed. Yi Yun's soul struggled desperately, trying to get rid of the black light, but the strength gap between the two sides was too great, and they were not even qualified to resist. Thinking of the horror of the 10,000 souls banner, he burned his own soul, and the soul fire continued to spread, and he would rather self-destruct than enter it. Humph, you can't help it. Yi Chen snorted coldly and extinguished the burning soul fire with a wave of his hand, causing Yi Yun's plan to fail. I'm not willing to accept it. Yi Yun's desperate voice echoed in the air, full of endless resentment. At this critical moment, a powerful imperial power erupted from Yi Yun's soul, and the terrifying sword intent broke through the sky, breaking the divine ability of the 10,000 soul banner. Then a hazy figure appeared, like a god from ancient times, exuding a mysterious and powerful aura, protecting Yi Yun's weak soul. Hiss. All the monks in the imperial city took a breath of cold air, looking at the hazy figure, their bodies trembled slightly. Great Emperor? No, it seems to be the incarnation of the Great Emperor. Even the incarnation has strength comparable to that of the Great Emperor. It may be difficult for Yi Chen to escape unscathed. No one expected that the situation would reverse so quickly. It seems that the rumor that the Great Emperor is really stationed in the Holy Land of Heavenly Sword is true, and there are still means left in Yi Yun's body, so he should want to save his life at the critical moment. It is estimated that Yi Yun himself did not know about this, otherwise he would have used it against Yi Chen long ago, and he would not have ended up in such a tragic end. At this time, the incarnation of the great emperor exudes powerful imperial power, the space is constantly distorted, and the divine power can shine for eternity. His eyes were as cold as ice, as if he could see through the vanity and impermanence of all things in the world. The next second, a terrifying divine light erupted from his eyes, shooting towards Yi Chen. The space was torn open instantly and turned into pieces of nothingness. One can imagine how powerful the power it contains. Host, be careful. The opponent is an incarnation of the great emperor. His strength is comparable to that of the great emperor realm first layer. You must not take it lightly. Damn, one incarnation is so terrifying, it's really off the mark. Yi Chen cursed secretly in his heart. He thought that the cultivation of the Emperor Realm 9th layer was powerful enough, but facing this incarnation of the Great Emperor, he still felt inadequate. The attacks of the Great Emperor's incarnation are getting closer and closer, and the pressure is getting stronger and stronger, as if they are going to crush him. If he cannot resist, he will definitely suffer unimaginable damage. Yi Chen took a deep breath and used all his strength to activate the immortal golden body. Bright golden light burst out from his body, as dazzling as a golden sun. Bang! A loud noise came, and the whole world trembled. Thousands of miles of space instantly shattered into chaos and nothingness. All the golden light on Yi Chen's body shattered, and his whole body was blown away, smashing into the depths of the broken space like a cannonball. Fortunately, he didn't suffer too much damage. He was secretly glad in his heart. He stabilized his figure in a blink of an eye and raised his hand to retrieve his 10,000 souls banner to avoid being damaged in the subsequent battle. Looking at the large amount of broken space around me, I was shocked and realized that there was a big gap between the Quasi-Emperor Realm 9th layer and the Great Emperor. Just an incarnation made him feel tremendous pressure, and I'm afraid it wouldn't be that easy to deal with it. What's more important is that Yi Yun's soul fell into the hands of the opponent, and he must find a way to get it back, otherwise he will not be able to complete the mission. I am the Kamikaze Sword Emperor. Who are you? Why do you want to kill my disciples? A majestic voice came, and then the great emperor stepped into the space and stretched out, coming to Yi Chen. The terrifying pressure made Yi Chen feel as if he was carrying the primordial divine mountain on his back. He was almost out of breath, but he still said forcefully, I can kill whenever I want, no reason is needed, what can you do to me? After saying that, he activated the immortal golden body again to offset the pressure of the incarnation of the great emperor. Junior, you are looking for death. The incarnation of the great emperor was furious upon hearing this, and the power of the great Tao suppressed everything, sealing off the surrounding void space and cutting off Yi Chen's retreat. Yi Chen was not afraid at all and decisively took out the void soul-chasing bow. The spiritual power in his body poured into it continuously, and the condensed black arrows broke through the suppression of the great emperor's incarnation. The terrifying power swept through everything. If both of them hadn't entered the depths of space, the imperial city might have been seriously affected, and might even have been destroyed. Chapter 56 Space Devouring. Yi Chen, it's so outrageous. I wonder if I can survive the incarnation of the great emperor? Who knows? In the imperial city, he saw the powerful power overflowing from the depths of the space, and guessed that Yi Chen must be fighting against the incarnation of the great emperor, and was shocked beyond measure. I really want to see it. Some people secretly lamented that they were not strong enough, otherwise they would definitely follow and watch the unprecedented battle between the two sides. The person next to you shook his head and said sarcastically without mercy, don't worry about your life. In a great emperor-level battle, I'm afraid the aftermath of a trace of power can kill you. If the two of them hadn't entered the deep space to fight, I'm afraid our lives would have been doomed. Many people nodded wildly in agreement. Looking at the slowly healing space outside the imperial city, I suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. I'm really afraid that Yi Chen and the great emperor's incarnation will suddenly come back and they will be the ones who suffer. At this moment, in the depths of the endless void space, Yi Chen had a thrilling battle with the incarnation of the great emperor. The two of them were like two burning meteors, flying through the void at high speed, and the terrifying power swept everything around them. During this period, there was an unlucky half-saint strong man who was rushing through space, but he happened to encounter them. In just a moment, he was involved in it, and turned into ashes in the blink of an eye, without even leaving any residue. Yi-Chen suddenly noticed a special force pouring into his body, heading straight for the supreme sword bone, causing his body to shake violently. Is this the power to destroy life? The words just fell. That special power was integrated into the supreme sword bone, and the sword was suddenly so fierce that it almost broke out of the body. The host's guess is correct, it is the life-destroying power formed by the death of the semi-saint strong man, and the heaven-destroying sword technique will be absorbed by itself. The power of destroying life cannot exist for a long time, and it will dissipate quickly if it is not absorbed. Once a certain amount of life-destroying power is accumulated, the supreme sword bone can be transformed into the supreme demonic sword. Learn. Yi-Chen laughed unconsciously. He was really looking forward to the moment when the magic sword was formed. It seemed that he had to kill more people to gain more life-destroying power. Junior, you dare to be distracted while fighting this emperor, you are seeking death. The incarnation of the great emperor gave a deep shout, with endless killing intent in his eyes, and a sharp sword condensed in front of him. The blade of the sword flashed with a heart-stopping cold light, and the powerful sword intention flowed on the blade, as if it could tear everything apart. The great emperor's incarnation held the divine sword, and the surrounding void space suddenly began to tremble. A powerful aura burst out from his body, echoing with the divine sword, and enveloped the entire space. The sword energy crisscrosses and covers an area of thousands of miles, like a huge sword array, making it impossible for people to escape. Yi-Chen complained secretly in his heart. It seemed that he still underestimated the strength of the incarnation of the great emperor, so he cursed. Damn, so fierce? After saying that, he immediately mobilized all the spiritual power in his body, injected all his strength into his eyes, and erupted with terrifying immortal and demonic power. The next second, the reincarnation disk slowly emerged, and it was faintly visible that it was covered with complex runes and patterns. Every time it turned, a large amount of the power of reincarnation spurted out. Thousands of god-fiend phantoms evolved, holding various weapons and wearing battle armor. They were so majestic that they seemed to be able to suppress all realms. The god-fiend phantom roared and charged towards the sword energy. At this moment, the void space was filled with strong energy fluctuations, and the power of both sides set off terrible energy. Don't let me down. Yi-Chen looked solemn and muttered to himself, not feeling confident at all. After all, it was the incarnation of the great emperor, and it was not easy to contend with it. Don't overestimate your own capabilities. The incarnation of the great emperor snorted coldly, with a trace of disdain flashing in his eyes. Tens of thousands of god-fiend phantoms are very powerful. It can be said that even the Emperor Realm 9th layer cannot deal with them, but it is a bit foolish to threaten the existence of the great emperor level. The terrifying sword energy swept through like a meat grinder, and the tens of thousands of god-fiend shadows were instantly shattered into countless pieces, as fragile as paper, and most of them dissipated in the blink of an eye. Yi-Chen's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect that the incarnation of the great emperor was so terrifying, and could easily neutralize the impact of thousands of god-fiend shadows. Boy, let me see what else you can do. The great emperor's incarnation stood proudly in the void, looking at Yi-Chen with mocking eyes, not thinking that he could pose any threat to him. Humph, so what if you become the great emperor? Don't think too highly of yourself. Kill! Yi-Chen shouted angrily. He was not at the end of his rope, otherwise it would be easy to kill the incarnation of the great emperor using the great emperor cultivation experience card. But that was his most powerful trump card, and Yi-Chen was unwilling to use it easily. He wanted to see if, with his current strength and means, he could fight against the incarnation of the great emperor or even kill him. Thinking of this, he controlled the Samsara sky disk with all his strength and suppressed it, emitting a dazzling light that collided with the terrifying sword energy. In an instant, the sky and the earth changed color, terrible fluctuations swept across all directions, and the void space began to vibrate violently. This power is like doomsday coming, making people frightened. Yi Chen and the incarnation of the great emperor were both knocked away from a distance and looked at each other with seriousness in their eyes. Good boy, I will remember you. The incarnation of the great emperor had an independent mind and could see through Yi Chen's state at a glance, which was very surprising. It is really unimaginable that he is in the semi-holy realm, but he has forced his strength to reach the emperor realm 9th layer, and that he can fight to such an extent with himself. If one day he becomes the great emperor, I am afraid that even if he takes action himself, he will not be able to do anything to him. Thinking of the cold murderous intent emerging from these eyes, he would kill Yi Chen no matter what he said today. The wind moves the 9 heavens. With the roar of the incarnation of the great emperor, he went all out to use the divine ability he had understood, preparing to use it to kill the enemy. All of a sudden, a dark void of space. There was a bright flash of light. The great Tao, the sword that the great emperor transformed into, lay directly across the void, like a giant agile dragon. All the surrounding power was swallowed up by the great Tao of swords, and 9 blue divine swords gradually condensed. Just the divine sword exuded a heart-stopping aura, containing extremely terrifying power, as if it could destroy everything in the world. Immediately afterwards, countless hurricane blades were generated out of thin air, intertwined and rotated, forming a huge storm. Under the raging storm, the void space was turned upside down and turned into chaos. The 9 cyan divine swords carried the power of God and headed towards Yi Chen to kill him. It's not that easy to kill me. Naturally, Yi Chen would not sit still and wait for death, and used all his strength to use the secret technique of divine movement in all realms, space devouring. Ho. Suddenly, the power of tens of thousands of miles of space gathered together, forming a black hole the size of 9 mountains, swallowing up the 9 divine swords that flew towards it. The black hole contained the terrifying power of space, which crazily destroyed the power of the 9 divine swords, and the two forces suddenly fell into a stalemate. Chapter 57 The Incarnation of the Great Emperor explodes. The face of the Great Emperor's incarnation was full of shock, because the spatial means used by Yi Chen were too unbelievable, and he could clearly feel that the power of the 9 divine swords was constantly weakening. If it continues, the divine sword will definitely dissipate completely. The thought of this immediately detonated the power in the 9 divine swords. Boom! A series of deafening explosions sounded, and terrifying energy fluctuations even tore apart the surrounding void space. Both of them were knocked away by the powerful impact, flying directly out of the void space and into the outside sky. The body of the great emperor's incarnation became a bit dimmer, which was caused by consuming a lot of power, and his strength was obviously weakened. At the same time, Yi Chen's divine ability, the immortal golden body, was shattered in the explosion, with many hideous wounds appearing on his body, and blood flowing out like a fountain. Despite this, the fighting between the two still did not stop. There was a fierce battle in the sky, and every collision would cause huge energy fluctuations, spreading outward like ripples, and it was unknown how far they spread. Fortunately, the two of them were in the sky, far away from the ground, otherwise countless living beings would be in panic. Boy, let's capture you without any effort. I will let you die a happy death. The incarnation of the great emperor raised his hand and waved, and the roaring wind in the sky turned into thousands of sword rains, shooting towards Yi Chen. It was so dense that no one could avoid it. It's a beautiful thought. I will kill you today. A sneer appeared on Yi Chen's face, and he activated his immortal golden body with all his strength, resisting the attacks of thousands of sword rains. Then hundreds of clones were differentiated to divert the attention of the great emperor's incarnation, and the main body used the art of emptiness to hide in the void. Then he unexpectedly recaptured Yi Yun's soul and quickly sent it to the 10,000 soul banner for refining to avoid other incidents later. The host completes the task of extracting Yi Yun's soul, retaining his sanity and sending it to the banner of 10,000 souls, where he will be tortured for eternity. The reward realm is upgraded to 1 level, Divine Pill times 100. Destiny Ning Divine Pill, enhance the power of the soul. Semi-Sacred Realm 5th layer. Damn it! The incarnation of the great emperor cursed angrily, his heart filled with anger. He never expected that he would be fooled around by a little junior. Even the safety of his disciples cannot be guaranteed. If this matter spreads, how will his face be saved? Thinking of this, his expression turned cold. The figure instantly appeared in front of Yi Chen, with anger flashing in his eyes. He reached out to seize the 10,000 soul banner and rescue Yi Yun, who was trapped in it. Who is afraid of the other when it comes to speed? Yi Chen's voice revealed incomparable confidence, and then his figure also disappeared from the spot, blending into the surrounding void. The great emperor's plan failed, and he couldn't help but frown. His consciousness frantically reached out, trying to find traces of Yi Chen, but found nothing. The surrounding aura disappeared completely, as if it had never appeared before, and I suddenly became alert, not wanting to capsize in the gutter. Go to hell, I'll kill your incarnation today and your body the next day. A sneer appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's mouth, and he secretly held the void soul-chasing arrow in his hand. He was afraid of accidentally destroying Yi Yun's soul, so he didn't use it. He took a deep breath, mobilized all the spiritual power in his body, and continuously injected the powerful spiritual power of the Emperor Realm 9th layer into the void soul-chasing arrow. The pitch-black arrows gradually condensed, exuding a heart-stopping aura. Whoosh! With a sharp sound breaking through the sky, the void soul-chasing arrow shot out like lightning. In an instant, the space exploded, and earth-shattering power spurted out from the arrows, clearly destroying everything in front of them. Not good. The moment the arrow was shot, the incarnation of the great emperor immediately sensed the danger, felt a strong sense of crisis in his heart, and realized that this arrow was anything but ordinary. He turned around and fled without hesitation, running thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye, trying to avoid this fatal blow. However, he soon discovered that no matter how he ran away, the arrow was always chasing him, as if it was alive. I don't believe you can follow me all the time. The great emperor's incarnation did not believe in evil, and he changed positions one after another in an attempt to get rid of the pursuit of arrows, but it was all in vain. The incarnation of the great emperor was shocked and had to stop, mobilize a large amount of power of heaven and earth, and use the great Tao as a sword to destroy the arrow. However, when he was about to use divine ability, he heard a pop and the arrow penetrated his body like lightning. The incarnation of the great emperor suffered unprecedented heavy injuries, his body became a bit darker, and his breath began to become disordered. Before he could recover, a sea of black fire suddenly emerged around him, containing endless power of the underworld, completely submerging him in it. In the sea of fire, black flames continued to burn the body of the great emperor's incarnation, causing it to feel tremendous pain. Ah, I want you to die. The incarnation of the great emperor roared angrily, his voice deafening. Holding back the pain, he pulled out the black arrow stuck in his body, his eyes filled with killing intent, staring at Yi Chen in the distance. Boy, this emperor will never allow you to grow. No matter how high the price is, I will kill you. Suddenly the terrifying imperial power was revealed, and the fire of the great Tao burned all over his body. His strength was unbelievable. Kill. Yi Chen's eyes were as cold as frost, and his murderous intent surged like a tide. He held the void soul-chasing bow in his hand and shot 3 arrows in succession. The incarnation of the great emperor burned the power within his body, and his aura became more powerful, exuding a terrifying pressure that made the whole world tremble. Waving the divine sword in his hand, he slashed out a shocking sword light, as bright as the Milky Way above the 9 heavens, illuminating the entire sky. The forces of both sides collided together, causing a shocking loud noise. The surrounding area turned into chaos, and countless cracks in the space spread into the distance. If you want to kill me, I'm afraid you're not qualified enough. Yi Chen showed no mercy at all and continued to pull the void soul-chasing bow, preparing to completely kill the incarnation of the great emperor in front of him without giving it a chance to counterattack. Ha ha! The incarnation of the great emperor laughed crazily, and the power in his body instantly became violent. He chose to self-destruct without hesitation, and the dazzling light could be seen by the entire human sovereign world. F***K, so cruel. Yi Chen cursed secretly and used all his strength to activate the defense of the immortal golden body. At the same time, he tore apart the space and used the space jumping technique to escape. The next second, The overwhelming power of destruction came, tearing apart countless miles of space, and each and deep in the space was severely affected. Puff! The terrifying power made him spit out several mouthfuls of blood, but he was able to teleport out at the critical moment, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Chapter 58 The Furious Kamikaze Sword Emperor. There was an earth-shaking loud noise in the sky, as if the whole world was about to be torn apart. A black crack appeared in the sky, like a ferocious beast opening its bloody mouth. The crack expanded rapidly, covering countless miles of sky in the blink of an eye. Endless darkness poured out from the crack, swallowing up all the surrounding light. The bright sky suddenly turned pitch black, as if doomsday was coming, and the sudden change plunged the entire human sovereign world into panic and chaos. Countless creatures looked at the black hole in the sky in horror, their bodies trembling involuntarily, and they felt an irresistible pressure that made them almost breathless. Is the sky falling? A frightening thought came to mind, causing all the creatures in the human sovereign world to have this thought. Looking at the bottomless black hole, my heart was filled with fear. Fortunately, the black hole did not continue to expand, and the suffocating pressure gradually dissipated. The creatures in the human sovereign world finally breathed a sigh of relief. Eastern Region. Heavenly Sword Holy Land. Several disciples who were patrolling suddenly discovered that thousands of soul lamps were broken in the main hall, and they immediately screamed. Ah! What's going on? Why did so many disciples suddenly die? Unexpectedly, when he looked up, he found that the saints, emperors, and powerful men were not spared, and even the souls of the Holy Son and the Quasi-Emperor were shattered. Even the Holy Son and the powerful Quasi-Emperor have fallen. How is this possible? Several people's faces turned pale with fright, and they scrambled to inform the higher-ups of the sect to handle the matter. Not long after, the powerful men from the holy realm of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land gathered together. Everyone's face looked ugly, and there was even some worry. As a senior executive of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, of course he knew that the Holy Son Yi-Yun had the incarnation of the Great Emperor in his body, but even so, he could not escape the fate of his death. It was conceivable how terrifying the enemy's strength was. Well, it's better to go ask the Kamikaze Patriarch for instructions and see how to deal with this matter next. The Holy Lord of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land sighed, turned around and left the meeting hall, heading to the retreat place of the Divine Wind Sword Emperor. In the burial sword Tian Shan Mountain, there are millions of long swords, exuding terrifying sword intent, almost tearing the void apart. The endless sword intent forms a terrible storm. Without the strength of the saint, no one can enter the center. And the Kamikaze Sword Emperor is practicing in seclusion, surrounded by terrifying power, every trace of which makes people feel suffocated. The inadvertent reveal of the Emperor's power made the space distorted. One can imagine how terrifying the power of the Great Emperor was. Puff! Everything was fine originally. But the Kamikaze Sword Emperor's expression suddenly changed. The next second, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his breath became a little weaker. Immediately afterwards, there was an extra memory in his mind, which was passed back when the incarnation fell. The Kamikaze Sword Emperor closed his eyes and began to sort out this memory carefully. A moment later, his eyes were filled with endless killing intent, and the terrifying imperial power instantly rose into the sky, like a volcano erupting, sweeping across the entire sword burial Tian Shan Mountain. Millions of divine swords felt this powerful aura, and they all let out crisp whining sounds. The Divine Wind Sword Emperor left the sword intention storm and stood on the top of the sword burial Tian Shan Mountain. His eyes fell into the distance and he said coldly, "Humph, if you dare to kill my incarnation, you will definitely die even if you escape to the ends of the earth. The incarnation is as important to the Great Emperor as the real name of the divine weapon. They are both refined with great effort and contain part of the power and will of the Great Emperor. When the incarnation dies, the main body will suffer a certain amount of backlash. Naturally, the Kamikaze Sword Emperor cannot tolerate such a thing. Especially if the opponent is only in the semi-sacred realm, he is forced to such an extent that it is said that all his swords will be lost." The Holy Lord of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land arrived outside the burial sword Tian Shan Mountain. When he saw the divine wind sword emperor on the top of the mountain, he suddenly broke out in cold sweat. One glance showed that the kamikaze sword emperor was in a bad mood. He was really afraid that disturbing him now would make him unhappy. However, thinking of the purpose of his visit, he could only bite the bullet and said, "Ancestor, disciple Wang Huatu wants to see you." Who made the matter too serious? The holy sun fell, and a quasi-emperor strongman and 2 strong men above the holy realm died. "Come here. I know why you came here. To tell you the truth, my incarnation also fell." The kamikaze sword emperor knew Wang Huatu's purpose for coming here, and told him without any concealment, so that he could be mentally prepared. Is the enemy the great emperor? When Wang Huatu, who had just stepped into sword burial Tian Shan, heard this, he froze on the spot as if struck by lightning. His face was full of disbelief. He never thought that the incarnation of the great emperor would fall. No. The kamikaze sword emperor shook his head. "No way, ancestor, your incarnation strength is comparable to the great emperor realm first layer. If the great emperor hadn't taken action, who could have done anything to you?" Wang Huatu looked even more shocked when he heard this. He didn't believe that someone could do this. You must know that the great emperor is an invincible existence. Even if it is an incarnation, it is not that easy to kill, not to mention that the one who takes action is not the great emperor. After the kamikaze sword emperor pondered for a while, he told the truth about the matter. After all, Yi Yun's soul was still in Yi Chen's hands and had to be snatched back. At that time, he would use secret techniques to help him reshape his body. He is a junior in the semi-saint realm. He uses various means to increase his strength to a quasi-emperor realm 9th layer. He uses various means to force my avatar to self-destruct. Despite this, I couldn't kill the kid and let him escape with serious injuries. This kid is too evil. I sent my disciples to search for traces of him. After discovering it, I immediately sent out strong men above the holy realm to chase him. We must kill him as soon as possible. I believe that the power of the incarnation's self-destruction will definitely severely injure Yi Chen. He must be hiding somewhere to heal his injuries, which is a good time to kill him. Yes, ancestor. Sky Sword Holy Land will definitely make every effort to find this person. When it comes to the rise and fall of the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, Wang Huatu naturally does not dare to be careless. He must completely eliminate the threat no matter what the price. I made the tracking law weapon and distributed it to my disciples to facilitate tracking the enemy. At the same time, the kamikaze sword emperor took out a large amount of materials and began to make a large number of tracking law weapons, which recorded Yi Chen's appearance and aura. Although these law weapons are not of high level, they are all personally refined by the powerful great emperor and have magical tracking capabilities. As long as it is within 10,000 miles of the target, it will glow. There are hundreds of thousands of disciples in the Heavenly Sword Holy Land, so it is very easy to find one person. Of course Wang Huatu knew the function of these law weapons. He patted his chest and promised. With the help of the law weapon made by our ancestors, it will be useless no matter where the enemy is hiding. I believe it won't be long before there is news about this person. The Heavenly Sword Holy Land will definitely capture the other party, and then hand it over to the ancestor for punishment. Having said that. But I was still very worried. After all, he is a person who can even destroy the great emperor incarnation. Even if he is only in the semi-sacred realm, who can guarantee that the other party has no other hidden methods? Chapter 59. Are you willing to give yourself to me? Kamikaze Sword Emperor saw Wang Huatu's worry and couldn't help but shook his head and said in a deep voice. Be careful in all things. That kid has endless tricks. If you really can't handle it, please notify me in time and I will take action personally. No matter how much he defies heaven, he will inevitably die. With the words of the Divine Wind Sword Emperor, Wang Huatu immediately felt relieved, and then he was not willing to waste a moment. He put away those law weapons and left the sword burial Tian Shan mountain, calling all the disciples in the sect to assemble. No matter what realm the disciples are, they must go out with the tracking law weapon. Once the target person is found, he must immediately report it to the surrounding powerful people, or return to the heavenly sword Holy Land and tell the people in the Holy Land and Holy Realm. You must not act without authorization to avoid alerting the enemy. All of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of disciples left the Holy Land and dispersed in different directions, carefully searching every piece of land in an effort to find the target person as soon as possible. What happened? A young boy actually wants all of us to go out and search for him. After leaving the heavenly sword Holy Land, many disciples started whispering. There was a guy with a sinister look on his face, and he said cautiously, "Hush, I heard that this person killed the Holy Son, and even other ancestors of the quasi-emperor grade fell." As soon as these words came out, many disciples were shocked. Really or not, today is not the wedding day of the Holy Son. How could such a thing happen? 80% of it is true. Otherwise, how could we have sent out such a large formation, even the disciples of innate realm? It didn't take long for the news to spread among the many disciples. All of them had sad faces. No one was willing to face the ruthless man who even killed the quasi-emperor. But the order issued by the Holy Lord must be completed, and everyone could only pray that they would not encounter Yi Chen. In the heavenly sword Holy Land, Wang Huatu pondered for a long time, preparing to go to the Tang dynasty to find out the news about Yi Chen. Maybe there would be some unexpected gains. He raised his hand to tear apart the space in front of him and got into it. In a moment, he arrived at the territory of the Tang dynasty. Flying all the way towards the imperial city, he unscrupulously unleashed the pressure of the quasi-emperor realm, suppressing countless people until they could not lift their heads. At this time in the palace, Li Shiming noticed that a powerful aura in the distance was approaching quickly. He left the palace in a flash and flew towards the opponent. Nowadays, Li Ling'er is the top priority and must not have any accidents. She is afraid that if someone strong notices her abnormality, it will definitely cause a lot of trouble. The two met just like this outside the palace. Li Shiming looked somewhat unhappy when he saw that he was from the heavenly sword Holy Land. After all, today is the day when the two families get married, so it is very embarrassing for something like this to happen. Wang Huatu did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point to express his intention, hoping to get some information about Yi Chen. Li Shiming breathed a sigh of relief and told the truth about what he knew. Anyway, many people in the imperial city knew it, so there was no need to hide it. Thank you, fellow Taoist, for informing me. I won't disturb you. When Wang Huatu heard that there was no nonsense, he tore up the space and left the place, heading to Bai Liang Ye's house to find out what was going on and see if what Li Shiming said was true. Liang Dynasty. In a mountain range, a woman was being besieged by dozens of men in red. When those men took action, the blood fiend aura filled the air, and their power was very tyrannical. The woman retreated again and again, but she was still seriously injured. She vomited a mouthful of blood on her chest and was about to reach a critical point. Just then, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky, and a Taoist shadow fell from it, like a cannonball, killing 5 or 6 people in red on the spot, and blood splashed out for an unknown distance. The figure that flew out was Yi Chen. Affected by the self-destruction of the great emperor's incarnation, he was teleported to an unknown location. Who would have thought that just after coming out of the void space, would smash a few people to death? I was a little embarrassed, so I could only smile awkwardly. I'm sorry, I'm so violent. You continue as if I don't exist. The self-destruction of the great emperor's incarnation was so powerful that even if it was teleported away in time, it would still be seriously injured. In addition, the time for the quasi-emperor's cultivation experience card is up, and it is impossible to suppress the injuries in the body, and it is impossible to use the cultivation base in a short period of time. He endured the pain and stood up, motioning for everyone to continue. He was too lazy to meddle in so many other things. Whether the woman lived or died had nothing to do with him. But the weak man in red refused to give up. Looking at the bloody Yi Chen, he guessed that he was seriously injured and showed a cold smile. Boy, you want to escape unscathed by killing those who killed us in the holy land of blood fiend. It's simply wishful thinking. Looking at the rich blood in your body, you can give it to the Holy Sun to devour, so you can make up for our losses. If you want to blame it, it's your bad luck that you met us. Ha ha. The few of them sang together, not taking Yi Chen seriously, and prepared to capture him as well, and maybe get a more generous reward. Holy Land of Blood Fiend? It turns out to be someone from Demon Dao. This is my first time seeing him. But it's you who are unlucky, not me. Yi Chen couldn't help but shook his head. He originally wanted to let these guys go, but unfortunately they had to seek their own death, so he couldn't blame them. Seeing Yi Chen's confidence, the woman guessed that his strength must be unfathomable, so she softly asked for help. I wonder if you can save my life, sir. I will definitely thank you very much afterwards. She is a 9th-layer cultivator in the Broken Void realm. Facing the many powerful men in the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, she is unable to escape even if she wants to. She can only place her hope on the man in front of her. When Yi Chen heard this, he turned back to look at the woman and looked at her carefully. Her face was picturesque, elegant and refined, her figure was graceful, and she was dressed in a simple and elegant dress, as if she had stepped out of a painting. Gives people a stunning feeling. Yi Chen's eyes lit up and he immediately became interested. This is not a script about a hero saving a beauty. As soon as the domineering spirit is revealed, the beautiful woman throws herself into his arms. Thinking of this brought a smile to his lips. But fantasy is useless, it's better to be practical, so he said straight to the point. Thank you very much. Do you want to pledge yourself to me? The woman was stunned when she heard this. Yi Chen's direct words caught her off guard, and she didn't know what to say for a moment. After a while, he came back to his senses and said in a tactful tone, Master, please don't be joking. This little girl is engaged. This time I came out to look for my fiancé. Unfortunately, I met someone from the Blood Fiend sect. If it were normal times, if Yi Chen dared to speak like this, she would definitely kill him with her sword. However, if you want to survive the crisis now, you still need to rely on the other party's help, so naturally you can't say too much. Chapter 60 Exquisite Immortal Body. Host, this woman has an exquisite immortal body. She has unlimited potential in the future and can also help you improve your strength. Get it quickly, don't give others an advantage. Before Yi Chen could speak, the system couldn't wait to jump out and kept encouraging him to take down this woman. It was really speechless. Tongzi, I feel like you are so impatient. As an excellent system, shouldn't it be a little more reserved? Reserve ****. This system is for your own good, but you still don't appreciate it, so don't blame me for being rude. Yi Chen was startled when he heard this. He was really afraid that the system would cause trouble for him, so he quickly said angrily. Tongzi, you have to calm down. As a human being, no, as a system, you must be calm and don't be so irritable. Too late. The host gets a new mission, wins the heart of the woman in front of him, and the reward realm is upgraded to 3 levels, the 3rd level Heavenly Origin Pill X100, the 6th level Heavenly Origin Pill X100, the 9th level Heavenly Origin Pill. How should you deal with so many rewards? Yi Chen's mouth opened wide, he was so rude. Damn, you scared me to death. We must rush. Tongzi, please be more polite to me in the future. I like you like this. Do this. It was simply forcing him to take advantage of the situation. But who let the system give too much? Can't refuse. I don't want to refuse either. Host, please don't misinterpret the meaning of the mission. You have to win the woman's heart, and you are not an overlord. Otherwise, you will not be able to complete the mission. If it wasn't difficult, I wouldn't let you float. Cut. A piece of cake. I believe that love grows over time. Yi Chen's face was full of disdain, thinking that it would be better to be simple and crude, there is no need to make it so troublesome. Thinking of this, he took the initiative to lean towards the woman and said softly, Girl, it doesn't matter if you have a fiancé. I can kill him without any burden on my heart. Being my woman will never make you suffer. The woman's eyebrows furrowed tightly. Yi Chen's actions were beyond his expectations every step of the way, and his unbridled thoughts were unpredictable. What he said was even more disgusting. If he wasn't in a critical situation now, he would have turned around and left long ago. Hey, kid, you're so arrogant. You're almost dying and still thinking about picking up girls. To tell you the truth, we, the Holy Son, are bound to get this girl, and everyone else will stand aside. The people in Blood Fiend Holy Land couldn't stand it. Yi Chen actually picked up girls in front of him and others. He was simply arrogant. What kind of cat or dog are you, the Holy Son, worthy of being compared with me? I really don't know what to say. Go away, don't disturb my love story. Yi Chen turned back and glanced at the group of people at Blood Fiend Holy Land, showing an impatient look. Among the dozens of people, there is only one transcending tribulation realm. Even if he is seriously injured, he can easily destroy them, so naturally he will not take it seriously. Boy, you are looking for death. You are very loud, let me see what you are capable of. A guy from the Shattering Void Realm couldn't stand Yi Chen being so arrogant, so he came over to kill him without saying a word. The shadow of a huge blood wolf appeared on this person's back, and he looked very ferocious with his bloody mouth open. The front paws exude a strong blood fiend aura, cutting through pieces of space. You can imagine how powerful it is. If you want to die, I'll let you die. Yi Chen showed a contemptuous smile on his lips, and when the opponent was about to approach, he instantly released terrifying killing intent, obliterating the blood wolf's shadow. The strong man in the Shattering Void Realm vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and looked at Yi Chen in horror. His blood wolf shadow was shattered in one glance. His strength must be extremely terrifying. If he rushes forward, he will definitely die. Thinking of this, he prepares to escape back to the camp of the Holy Land of Blood Fiend. Unexpectedly, as soon as he turned around, a palm penetrated his body, and his heart was still beating. Humph, want to run? Yi Chen sneered and crushed the heart in his hand, causing blood to splash all over the floor. The strong man in the Shattering Void Realm widened his eyes, his face full of unwillingness and despair. I never thought that I would be killed so easily. When the people in the Holy Land of Blood Fiend saw this scene, their faces turned pale with fright, and they all retreated. They were secretly glad that they had not acted impulsively, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Yi Chen simply cleaned the blood on his hands, then his eyes fell on the woman again, and said with a wicked smile. Girl, what are you thinking about? The man is unmarried and the woman is unmarried. We are quite a match. Of course, if you don't want to, then I'll have to force myself. I'm not an easy person to talk to. Be polite before fighting. Agree even if you disagree. He doesn't have so much time to waste. As the saying goes, love grows with time. The woman's face turned cold when she heard this. She was originally counting on Yi Chen to save her, but the other party also began to have his own ideas and was ready to use strong tactics. It was really unlucky, but after considering the situation at hand, it was better to fall into the hands of Yi Chen than to fall into the hands of Blood Fiend Holy Land, so I temporarily agreed. My girl's fiancé is not so easy to get along with. If the young master has the ability to kill him, I won't mind marrying you. Forced by the situation, I had to pretend to agree to Yi Chen and think of a way to escape later. Otherwise, if I fell into the hands of the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, the result would be even more tragic. What I've been waiting for is what you said. I will first kill the people in the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, and then I will kill your fiancé. Yi Chen laughed. Looking at the people in the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, it was like looking at a group of dead people. Have you figured out how to die? I believe that by killing this group of people, some of the injuries can be recovered, which is simply killing two birds with one stone. Fellow Taoist, we are from the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, and there will be no good outcome if we are enemies. If you turn around and leave now, how about I guarantee that today's matter will be forgotten? The transcending tribulation realm strongman in Blood Fiend Holy Land looked very ugly. Even though Yi Chen was seriously injured, he could kill a void-shattering realm strongman instantly. His strength was absolutely terrifying. If they were to confront each other rashly, their group of people might not necessarily be their opponents, and they might even be wiped out. In desperation, we can only move out the forces behind it, hoping to make the other party retreat before the difficulties, otherwise the result will be really hard to say. Not very good. No matter who you are, if you dare to bully the woman I like, you will all die today. Yi Chen was dismissive when he heard this. The Holy Land of Blood Fiend is not a holy land, it has no deterrent effect on him. The words just fell. He ducked into the crowd at the Holy Land of Blood Fiend, shattered the space with one punch, and killed 5 or 6 people. His limbs and arms flew to an unknown distance. You are listening to it in Eugene Light Novels.